Hello, commercial streams. Welcome in. We're getting set up for episode 544 of the Unplugged program. Whoa, whoa! Are you sneaking a snack in there during the music break?
Who, me? No, never. That's Brent's job.
Good job, boys. Good job. Good for you.
I guess I don't sneak my snacks. I just
Now's the time to do it.
throw them in there.
We need your energy because it was a big challenge, so there's a lot to get to. It was a big challenge. Big rigs, big challenge. Bigger rigs, bigger challenges. I don't know. More rig, more
I
challenges.
feel like I've been working on this challenge for a month now. Is that how you feel?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Actually, it's been a while since deleted boosted the first. I wish I had that first boost. Maybe one day we'll have like a database we can query that.
Oh yeah, I mean that's
in the works.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So as we are live, if somebody in the chat room would please, because we will be busy, but somebody in the chat room or the mumble room, maybe in the post show, flag me and let me know if Linux 6.7 gets approved while we're on the air, because I believe this is the kernel that ships with the Bcache file system. Now it's going to be marked as experimental, but it should be in there in the mainline release in Linux 6.7, which is supposed to come out today, possibly as we are live.
Yeah, what they went for an RC8 this time around. I got real lucky in my prediction. I used the right verbiage.
You did. So you're right. Oh my goodness. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you just, oh my God, Wes. You know, I think last year too, you got one that was just down to the verbiage. You know, he comes in looking all kind of like, like laissez-faire about his predictions, but there's some serious strategy there when it comes to the language.
You know, it's a shame we're doing the kernel was delayed and we're doing the challenge right now because I kind of wanted to try to put Bcache FS on a 32-bit rig.
You know,
we still can't.
I kind of already had next episode planned, but I think we should bump it and we should do a Bcache episode.
Yes.
Yeah. I think we got to do a Bcache episode next week. Claimed it. All right. SARS, we claimed it. Yeah, there's other nice things in there too. Firmware support for the within the Nouveau kernel driver. That's cool to see as well. But before we started the show, Wes, you found a fantastic post from LWN. LWN's Guide to 2024, and it's from Jonathan, as always. Mr. Corbett writes that the calendar has flipped over to 2024. Another year has begun here at LWN. We don't have a better idea of what this year will bring than anybody else does, but that doesn't keep us from going on a shaky limb and making predictions anyways. Here are a few of them. This one's kind of obvious because it's already going to happen. The Linux kernel community will begin to move away from email as the core of its development process. That's basically Linux Foundation wants to get out of the business of hosting mail.
Right.
I'm sad about this. I'm very sad about this because the mailing lists and searching the mailing lists and being able to historically go back have been, like one of our top 3 research tools in the shows. I really cannot overstate how useful that has been, and anything that is less accessible than that. And it's, again, it's often it's on the web, but it's basically as close to plain text as stuff on the web gets.
Really, yeah.
Yeah, so it's really, really like nice for the kind of work that we do.
And, there might be some things like you could do it. I could see some default CSS that made it a little easier to read in different environments or on mobile or something. But
once you
is
kind of
that
get
gonna-
used to it and stuff, it's the fact that you can, I don't know, I like it.
yeah, and I just wonder like what new solution, what will the visibility be? How easy will it be to search, to run through? It's been so nice over the years, as you're saying, right? You're reading some article about some new thing or some controversy, or oh gosh, Linus said what now? And you can just go read it so easily. No,
Read the source thread.
no paywalls, no accounts needed. You just click on it.
I mean, when the University of, was it Minnesota? Who was the hostile patches? Was it Minnesota? Or, sorry, I don't want to cast aspersions, so I guess I won't say. But when you had those subversion patches where they're trying to test the kernel patch,
University of Minnesota.
Okay, the maintainer process. It was absolutely bombshell insightful to be able to go through and read the original source discussions going back years from when those folks that were involved had originally made patches prior. And we were able to construct a complete timeline reading the mailing list. So I don't know, it's just kind of sad, but we'll see. We're going to see another long-term stable kernel, 6.12. Jonathan says the first usable Rust code in the kernel, perhaps as soon as 6.8.
We'll be celebrating that here.
Yeah, I wonder what he doesn't say what, though, does he? Maybe he's thinking Asahi drivers?
Yeah, some kind of driver seems plausible, or just like is it merged where it's some sort of some bits in there that actually ship, even if it's just infrastructure.
Oh, here's a spicy one. Oh, actually, I think his Mozilla one's pretty spicy too. But the enterprise distribution market will be shaken up in 2024. He writes, last year, vendors working in this space all apparently came to the conclusion that there was little to be done other than offering clones of Red Hat Enterprise Linux. Yes.
Oh.
Savagely well put. Well done. He writes, essentially ceding control over that part of the market to one company. That is exactly my argument, Jonathan. Thank you. I felt like why is nobody talking about this? Sorry. Anyways, I'll calm down. He continues, Red Hat makes it harder to compete in that space, though. Both vendors and users will increasingly ask themselves why they're even bothering. Stable Linux does not need to be a copy of RHEL, and there are a number of interesting approaches that could draw parts of the market away from RHEL in the future. Yeah. I'm a little worried RHEL's not going to have a great year. Brian's been posting leaks from employees that are filing lawsuits about different discrimination cases. You have a brain drain as people have left, like Lennart, our buddy Alex has left. Others have left.
Yeah.
And then you have this fundamental fact that Jonathan just touched on. Although
not to mention the pulling of funding from various projects.
He writes that open source generative AI will see a lot of attention. I agree. He writes about the fact that Mozilla made a recent statement from the CEO that suggests the organization sees AI as a more interesting place to focus its efforts on than saving the world again from a browser monopoly.
I mean, what, you don't think Mozilla can compete with Google on AI?
Oh, boy. Mozilla of yesteryear, the Mozilla that invented Rust? Maybe. That Mozilla, those people aren't there anymore. Speaking of brain drain, Mozilla has also had a brain drain. And Brent, you were looking at numbers. The CEO is making great bank, even though as the market share completely collapses.
Something like 6.8 million, which is a 20% increase year over year.
Yeah. CEO gets a 20% raise. God, I'd love that. At least keep up with inflation then. Yeah.
Hey, Chris, you were saying you were hoping to find that original boost that mentioned the 32-bit challenge or suggested the challenge. I think I might have found it.
Oh, yeah?
Is there something specific you were looking for?
I'm just curious what the boost was. Can you read it?
Well, we have a date. So October 23rd. It's from Deleted.
Yep.
For a total of, get your finger ready, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Satoshis.
Oh, hold on. We're going to do that now. Let's do it. Oh, I should bring the live dashboard up too while we're at it.
The combination is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the stupidest combination I ever heard in my life.
It never gets old.
No.
Yeah, Deleted writes, I'm catching up on the last few episodes. Great work on the Windows challenge, and I'd like to propose another, the 32-bit challenge. Using hardware that does not support 64 bits, can you survive a week or even a single day? I'm imagining something from the Athlon or Pentium 4 era. This idea came out of the remarks that 4 gigs of RAM isn't enough for a modern system, and it occurred to me that we used to run everything on very far less. My first Linux install was a 166 megahertz Pentium with MMX with 16 megs of
Oh, Deleted, what have you done to us?
Lots of suffering this week, I think.
I believe my section of the doc is titled Chris's 32-bit Hell, which I think that tells you a little bit of how it went.
I wrote All Roads Lead to BSD.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
Which, Jeff, sounds like you need to BSD yourself, I think.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
Boy, oh boy! I tell you,
Is Wes the only one who succeeded? I wonder.
we'll find out. It's got a very nice looking install over there. Anybody else in the mobile room participating in the 32-bit challenge this week? Sounds like Joe was.
I was using a PowerPC iMac G3.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. We want to hear about that. Okay, all right.
256 meg of RAM.
Oh my God, you hero!
So the 32-bit chat room has 18 people in it, which is
Great.
It's not nothing. So pretty good.
So I was thinking what we'd do is we'll go. Brent will start first. We'll hear how Brent's went. And then I'll introduce the hardware since you and I have the same hardware, Wes, with a couple of, and then we'll hear Wes's. Then we'll take a break, and then when we come back, we'll hear mine. And then I want to hear. Then we'll end on the mumble. So whoever wants to jump into the mumble, we'll call on you then, and then kind of do our wrap up. We'll all just sort of wrap up, and we can all just open mic, go around, and kind of just wrap it up and discuss it a bit. We got a pretty thick housekeeping.
I think we probably came.
Sorry.
Probably came to some overarching conclusions, I feel like. So
Yeah.
there has to be some lessons learned, right?
Do we have a current boost dump?
Yeah.
Would you mind adding that to our total for the scale goals in the housekeeping section, which is midway?
Yep. On it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Looks like I think we have a pretty good lock on Texas Linux Fest. So I think that's also so we have first part of the year is really busy, and the rest of the year I don't have anything scheduled.
Can we take a nap then?
Yeah. Well, this is probably going to be the place to be. Although, are we going to have like a super hot summer because of El Nino? Is that how that works?
We're gonna find out.
I don't want that.
If the winter's any indication, then
It's been
perhaps,
warm.
yes.
It's been warm. It's been very nice. It's been very comfortable, although stormy. But oh gosh, it's so much nicer than the last 3 years because we had a El Nino for 3 years straight, and they were brutal. They were the hardest winters I've had in 8 years in an RV. They were brutal.
Not a lot of fun.
Much better this year. Much more comfortable this year. Been much more appreciative of that. I don't know. Do
you
we
haven't even replaced a water pump yet?
No, but I do want to upgrade it. Do we have any thoughts, boys, before we start the show? Any thoughts on Canonical bringing back a Snap developer?
Whoa.
Or returning at least to Snap development later this month, and their focus will be exclusively cross-distribution support. Like that's their full quote. This is a quote from the developer. Unlike in the past, this will be my full-time job.
But aren't Snaps already cross-platform? Like what is being improved here?
Well, I know a lot, right? Like folks for a long time had complained that some of the confinement and other things relied on like the Ubuntu
App Armor
setup.
Oh,
Not that you couldn't maybe
shoot.
have App Armor elsewhere, but
What if you just nailed it? Because like that is a full-time job maybe. Like re-plumbing that somehow.
and I think it has felt. I mean, people use snaps on other platforms, but Ubuntu's like been the focus. It's a place they work best. They're just going to work. They're tested there. This is a commitment to making snaps really more feel a first-class cross-platform.
But not to be this guy too, but like have either of you tried to get snaps working on Nix? I don't have App Armor. I mean, I have no idea what it must be
I
involved.
saw there was some recent stuff that Wimpy had been talking about.
So I wonder
to make
too
that work.
if that isn't going to be part of the effort, because there's got to be a recognition of the popularity there.
But no, I
I'm
haven't
pretty
tried it myself.
certain I got it working on Tumbleweed without really any.
Oh yeah, well Tumbleweed has
Any
app armor.
thoughts?
Seuss has been an app
Yeah.
armor shop from the early days, but
So I was deceived by how easy that was.
And I don't know what progress has been made. I don't follow the Snap stuff super closely just because I don't use it day to day.
yeah.
But I mean, there's some stuff, right? Like LexD ships in a Snap. Some folks like that Nextcloud Snap a lot. So for
Yeah.
for some folks, like it could be if it's another nice way to get the software you need, you can run Linux day to day. I'm all for it.
Yeah, I agree.
It feels really surprising to me, though, that that wasn't part of the design in the first place.
Well, I
considering
think-
the goals.
You gotta go back. You gotta go back in time. When snaps have been around before Flatpaks. There was like XGD apps or something,
Yeah, right? Yeah.
and it was barely fleshed out. Snaps were a solution we didn't have at first, and I think back then it wasn't a foregone conclusion how we were going to do mandatory access controls. SE Linux was a massive pain in the ass back then. App Armor was a little bit more elegant. App Armor is a little more permissive by default, whereas SE Linux is restrictive by default, so you can kind of see the flip there. And App Armor is, in my opinion, and I think probably Canonical's opinion based on discussions I've had, App Armor is just a little more end-user friendly. It's a little bit easier on an end-user desktop. Like even today on Fedora, every now and then I have issues with SE Linux. You don't really run into that with App Armor systems. And so I think Canonical made the choice, thinking about desktops, to make it App Armor based there. And those mandatory access controls are part of like what helps with the sandboxing and just security in general. And so you kind of need some sort of system to orchestrate that for you. But I got to figure couldn't you just do it with basic systemd functionality these days? Like, I mean, what if they re-architected
Is this
the
a
back?
prediction?
Well, no, but what if they reworked the back end so the only dependency was systemd and not App Armor? And they did just namespace stuff with systemd, and I mean, then all of a sudden you're not like bolting on all this extra stuff and kind of canonicalizing your distro. And I think at the heart of cross-distro or Ubuntuizing, right? Isn't that kind of it, though? You have to Ubuntuize your distro just a little bit to make it Snap compatible. You kind of have to go the canonical way on a couple of things to make it Snap compatible. And I think that's just a barrier. I mean, I don't know. I could be wrong. I don't know what I know, but... And I wonder if I were looking at this and I was like, geez, what we could do is if we just remove this problem... You would technically improve cross-distro compatibility. Ubuntu users would benefit as well, probably from reduced complexity, but it's not required on Ubuntu. And it would take a full-time developer to make that crap work. You may have cracked it there, Wes. Well done.
Okay, we'll find out.
Yeah, we will. And then last but not least, GNOME is merging their RDP graphical remote support for login. Frickin' great. I love this. So it's going to be running as a system service. And on a new RDP connection, it'll request GDM to start on a remote display, which is essentially a headless RDP version of GDM.
That's neat.
In that session.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we got to try this too.
Absolutely. I guess there's going to be a headless user session handover option. This daemon is attached as a service on the greeter or user headless sessions. It will tell the daemon system using the handover dbus interface to start the handover, and the daemon system will proceed with the handover process. I think it's saying it will be able to hand over a locally logged in session into a remote RDP session after you've authenticated at GDM. I think that's how I read that, and that sounds super nice. I'm surprised that I forgot to mention this to you. I ended up reloading both Dylan and I gave Bella a laptop for Christmas, a used laptop. And I reloaded Dylan's to Nick's. They're both on Nick's now, both of their laptops. And I'm doing a little experiment. I set Dylan's to auto update every day. So it's doing
fun.
It's doing automatic garbage collection and cleanup and all of that. And it's doing auto update every day in the background. So we'll see how that goes because he's got an NVIDIA hybrid system, which is not a typical NVIDIA hybrid system because most Linux setups expect a NVIDIA Intel setup, and he has an NVIDIA AMD setup. Thankfully, in Nix, you just specify that in the configuration, and it just sticks. So I'm hoping that will work. So they're both on Nix. I reloaded both their systems and put them both on Plasma 527, both using the Steam Flatpak. And this Flatpaks just will be auto-updated using Discover.
Nice.
So we shall see. But for remote desktop, I did RustDesk again. And
with the new
Dylan's on
Wayland
X.
support? Okay,
no,
on
Dylan's on
gotcha.
X. Yeah. I don't feel great about it. I like something that's built in. You know, I like this option a lot more once it's available. I just don't like, I mean, RustDesk, it's great they got Wayland support because Bell is on Wayland. But, you know, I like something built in, man. I want it built in.
I'd like RustDesk to finally put their Flatpak in the FlatHub store. That'd be super handy.
That's
Instead of having to download the Flatpak.
Yeah, and
seems
so
clumsy.
I'm doing it via Nix packages, and it is the biggest, most largest install. It builds crap, and it goes, and it goes, and it goes, and it goes. So Flatpak
Does it go?
would be, Brent, it goes and it goes,
But not in the good way.
no,
Oh, the
in
bad
like the
It's not
five,
rin and go, is it?
legitimately 5x the amount of time it takes to install every other package on the system.
Really?
Oh yeah. 'cause
Why? Why?
It's
What's the-
compiling crap, and it's downloading crap, and then it's just.
How dare it down?
How dare it? Don't they know guys
yeah.
like on a remote connection? Yeah.
Took a little break there. Went on tinkle break, and I opened the door from the studio here into my place, and smells of smoke, and that's not good.
Uh-oh.
So I'm like, oh. So I take another step, and I'm like, oh, I know exactly what's happening.
Okay.
I made myself breakfast, and I left my cast iron pan with the heat on on the stove.
I mean, it might be
Luckily-
the best type of pan to have that happen to.
Yeah, I know, right? Anything else would be ruined. Luckily, I had the lid on as well, so it didn't like smoke the whole place, but it just kind of contained everything within that little. But not a good way to start the year off if almost burning down your house. You know.
It just needs a little TLC now.
Well, it's either going to have made the pan much better or much worse, but I haven't quite investigated yet. So we'll see. I'll report back next week.
Oh, really?
I turned the heat off, so we're all good.
It would be pretty tragic to watch your cabin burn down. I mean, because you would keep doing the show as long as you could, I'm sure.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, if it does happen, just let's establish this now. Just run out with the laptop still connected so we can just watch as much as possible. Because the Starlink's in another building, right? So we'd probably get a good show. It's really just a matter of time with the squirrels in the wall. Oh,
And those two crazy cats.
What's with the air quotes?
so we're in the woods. It went really well, except guess what?
Cat.
One mouse. We got one mouse. We really have this down now, so it's not so bad. But I knew we had a problem because one night I woke up, early in the morning, and I see leak sensor went off. I'm like, a leak sensor. The kitchen, under the kitchen sink, leak sensor went off.
That's not good.
And I bring it up in Home Assistant, and I can see that it was only active, like it only was in a wet state or whatever, like detected whatever moisture, whatever, for like 5-10 seconds. Odd. All right, weird anomaly. I've had this sensor in there for over a year. I've never had that happen, but okay. But then I really knew the next night. I immediately suspected when that happened. Because PTSD of having these things in here, you start like, a sensor doesn't just go off, right? But sometimes they do. But then the next night, I wake up, and we have the kids over, and the kids tell me, in the middle of the night, the HomePod started playing music. What?
No, someone nudged it.
I think, my first thought is this was mouse confirmed. I think a mouse ran, because there's many HomePods, and they're all connected.
Right.
So you sit play on one, and to get them to play, you just tap the top, and they just will start playing a random playlist. Because they just want you to play Apple Music so bad. So bad. And so that I think one, but I wasn't, how would I know? I didn't see any like evidence. I checked the next day. I didn't see any evidence, but That's all I needed. When we had the sensor the night before and then the thing started playing music in the middle of the night, my daughter does talk in her sleep, so it was possible, but I was convinced. So we deploy the traps. And it was the weirdest thing. Next day goes by, nothing. We're out all day, nothing. Thing doesn't come out, doesn't use the trap. I get up the next morning pretty early, and the generator needs to get started because batteries are a little low. So I go out there into the kitchen, I turn stuff on, I fire up the generator, which is, it's a motor starting up. There's even some vibration to it. And I'm rustling around. That's when the idiot decides to come out, stop at the trap, sniff it, go for a little bite, and get caught right there. Boom, right there. I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
Wow.
You got to be kidding me. This dummy had the whole day to himself, all night to himself. He comes out right when we're finally up. And so we kept the traps deployed for a while. I have also cameras deployed in the typical spots and all that. And there's been no further evidence. But, it's every time now we go out to the woods. I think it's because this spot has become more popular. There's just more of them now. So you almost have to just come with your mousetrap game. Like if you're gonna bring something that smells like food and is warm in the winter out into the woods, you got to bring mousetraps. And just be thankful it's just mice.
Right. Yeah, you could have worse pests.
Yeah,
for sure, huh?
Yeah.
I remember when you were fighting rats. That was a whole other.
Yeah, and that, that's bad. I think we got that from a campground, though. I don't remember where the rats came from. Or maybe they're...
You thought it was that
right.
old
Yeah, it was
abandoned shed.
Yeah, it was a shed.
Yeah.
And our neighborhood, just about everybody in our neighborhood has chickens. And there's one lot that has way too many chickens because it's like that. The whole neighborhood stinks sometimes because this one house has too many chickens. And they got ducks. And that kind of crap just draws the rats in, too. So I kid you not, there is a technology solution to this problem.
No.
Yep. And it even involves Home Assistant. Now, it's a little grim. So if you're squeamish, just skip ahead a little bit because this is pretty wild. But this is a real thing. A guy named Troy has come up with the ultimate smart mousetrap using Home Assistant. He's got a mousetrap that sends a push notification and changes lamps around the house pink. He says so you can even see the life drain out of them. Based on, he has an XY axis motion values on the mousetrap. The values get smaller and smaller and then stop when the mouse flatlines. Then you know when to throw it away. Come and get it. So he's got a little, in the picture here, you can see he's got a little motion sensor on there. And when that stops, he knows, okay, the trap has done its job. And he gets an alert that, hey, the motion sensor has detected the mousetrap or going off. I mean, how grotesque but yet amazing is that?
You really can automate everything.
And he has the lights change in Home Assistant. He has the lights change. So hey, by the way. So that's probably where I'm going to go.
I mean, it seems like an over-engineered... Well, I mean, maybe it all is, but it seems slightly over-engineered, if I might say.
In our Matrix chat room, Joe's showing us his 32-bit setup. What is this, a machine in a rack here, Joe? What am I seeing here?
You're seeing a couple of boxes. So I work for a company that actually made those boxes. Okay. I bought them secondhand, however. So those are all a whole bunch of machines. A couple of them aren't. But the ones on the right-hand side with the blue front, those are some of our older computers. Those are pretty old processors.
I bet.
I can get you the specs on them. But yeah, they're like maybe a gig of RAM, I think. It is ECC, though. It's, because they're old industrial PCs. These were built for like substations and stuff. So I've got them running like Jenkins on a couple of those boxes, and then they do things for me to build like websites for 4-H groups and things like that, so I can work with high school students on building projects and stuff.
Neat.
So it's kind of fun.
That is fun. I love also. Is this a house? Is this a building? Like, I love like the under storage server setups, like the lower. I want one of those. That's a great place because it must never get that hot down there.
It doesn't. It gets moist, and thankfully, most of those PCs don't have fans. They're all fanless, and that's why, like, the two there, you see the great big heat sinks on the front of those?
Yeah, okay.
Those are both i7 cores in there without any fans.
What's the brand on that?
That is Schweitzer Engineering Laboratories are the computers, but the processors are just Intel i7s. Okay. They're pretty sweet though. And just industrial rated SSDs and everything, so they're slick. It's nice because I just throw them down there and I don't have to worry about them ever again. Basically,
Right.
They're built to run for like 20 years.
Basement server for the win.
And that is totally my like creepy dark basement, like not pictured here, but just immediately off to the right is like this weird like plywood box. And you like if I show people this, because I show techie people the things down here, but they see that box and they're like, "Do you keep the bodies in there? Like what's going on here, Joe?" So it's kind of fun.
Good share, thank you. I like that.
Of all the freezers, you need your corpse freezer to be well monitored, so if there's a
That's
problem.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And hidden.
True.
Yeah. I did recently recommend and self-hosted my perfect in the fridge, in freezer sensor, so you know how your temp is and if the door's closed.
Ooh, nice.
Oh, yeah.
If the door's closed?
Yeah.
Oh, I
It's
guess
a little
because the
magnet
temperature
sensor.
dropped.
No,
Yeah,
it's a magnet.
Right.
It's got a magnet.
Oh, you are way sophisticated. You and your magnets.
So
Like
I actually have history of how long our door's open and not. Now, not really super
You don't
useful.
need more than an average of 15 seconds to correctly choose your item from the fridge, kids. I've done the math.
Right. Now you say, Chris, is it really useful? Well, here's how it's useful. We sometimes are parked not super level, like we're at a campground or a rest stop overnight. And if you're not, like if say we're leaning one side, the door might not just gently soft close like people expect.
Right. In a level home that right.
So it is nice to just have like something on a dashboard that goes red after a while that says, door's been open for 5 minutes, just so you know. I can even do a little push notification just to my phones, because I would not send this noise to Hidea. That just says, hey, just so you know. And even when I'm not home, I can be like, hey, how come the fridge has been open so long? Which I'm sure they love. I'm sure they love that.
You're always watching.
Hey, the fridge has been open way too long. What's going on over there? They probably think that's great. But yeah, I do get a little history of it too. But I think what is actually probably the most useful long term is I get, a history of how it's maintaining temperature. And I can see if the fridge is struggling to maintain temperature. Also useful because, again, this is stuff you don't think about in a house. But in a mobile home, when you're somewhere else that you're not normally parked, it might be warmer, it might be colder.
Yeah.
And you got to adjust your fridge. Here it's 40 degrees outside. If I were to go somewhere, I don't know, where it was 70, 75, 80, maybe I turn the fridge up a little bit. Maybe I don't. Maybe if it's like 80, 90, you do. So you just don't know, but if you have a temperature sensor, then you do. So there you go. It's probably just useful in general, though, just so you know how the health of it is.
I put one of these sensors in my fridge and freezer. Will you text me whenever the door's open?
Yeah, if you want to somehow through, I guess maybe Tailscale connected to my Home Assistant,
Smoke if you got 'em.
All right, I think we're just about ready, right?
This is the way.
Yeah. I mean, your connection's still not great.
I don't know what to do about that. I know. It's so sad.
What is the nature of it is what I want to know.
Can you try saying some nice things about Elon and see if it
Is
does
it
anything?
a packet law? Yeah. Is it packet floss?
All right, let's do some
it
investigating here.
Is it SUPU? Is it congestors? I just want to know what
SUPU?
I want to know if it's your SUPU, if it's congestors, if it's constrictions in the width of bands. Are we dropping packs? What's going on over here? That's just
I just got a packet duplicate. That's interesting.
I'd be interested to know what the live stream thinks about this. So if you're watching on the commercial streams, please do chime in. We'd love to have you join our matrix. I put a link down in the description if you're on Tubes and Twitch and stuff. So we're looking at saving money in 2024, and I'm wondering if video is something we need to continue to deliver or if an audio stream would be adequate. I think obviously people love video, but I think you get a lot of the show just in audio form because we try to maintain it, listenable for our members who are listening in audio only. So we're always doing the live stream with audio listeners in mind. I think it would also encourage some folks to join the Mumble Room more, because if you're going to listen to audio, why not listen via the best audio stream? And then we would obviously reduce complexity and cost, and it would be lower bandwidth when we're on the road, or like if Brent's having a bad packet day. It's a lot easier just to send audio packets than it is vidya and audio. Plus, it's not just one video stream. He gets a return feed. In some cases, if I'm remote or somebody else is remote, he also gets their feeds. So it's sometimes simultaneously 3 or 4 streams. 5 actually right now. So this machine has 5 outbound connections, 5 inbound audio connections, 4 outbound video streams, and 2 scenes. It's using 5.36 megabits consistently, which isn't bad, right? But not always doable consistently. It has to be, 5.3-ish megabits consistently. Audio doesn't, right? I mean, I don't know. Audio can be 300 kilobytes. I mean, it's ridiculous, right? It's
that's about what you get on your 32-bit laptop, isn't it?
Yeah. Basically, you could do it on 32-bit laptop. Yeah, Jeff, what is it?
If you do go audio only, maybe when there is something visual that you wanted to show, you can use the new podcasting 2.0 features to put it as like the artwork or something, like throw a photo on there.
Well, look at you solving problems and making suggestions. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I don't. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. I'm trying to lower my video. Let's see, where am I?
Well, I switched networks and it seems more stable.
Oh yeah, your picture looks way better.
Oh, interesting. I was on the 2.4s because I was getting far stronger signal strength.
Right. The better
but I
decibels.
switched to the 5, which is like pretty bad signal strength, but it seems more stable. So
yeah, your picture looks
right here.
Your picture looks a lot better. Anyway, I just like
my
feedback.
ping times are way better. So
video streams for special occasions, maybe that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I'm wondering.
Like double days or special episodes.
Yeah.
I watch PeerTube, but that's mostly because to avoid paying the Patreon. So you might get a few people to convert over to Patreon so they could get the real bootleg stream instead of the discount version.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind that because, right, I consider that to be like the trial of the membership. Because eventually, like, if you really get hooked on that version, our thinking is you're probably going to want it in a podcast catcher. So that way you can just get it automatically. You don't miss them. You can listen on the go and you're supporting. But yeah.
Can you post audio to PeerTube?
Well, one of the things we're trying to do is, maybe not have PeerTube. Not that it isn't working great, but we're just trying to reduce cost, and it's a lot of storage and another instance. I think you'd stream like a video stream that just has audio and like a still image. I think is how it would work with PeerTube. I don't know.
I will say anecdotally, I've run into a lot of people at meetups who watch PeerTube pretty religiously.
Oh yeah,
every
okay.
single week.
That's good to know.
Like our live stream as it's happening.
Well, we'd still be live. I just think we would do like JB Live FM or like the podcasting 2.0 lit stuff.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Which we want to do anyway. But.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, I don't know. It doesn't really say it was a ton though. It's really also, it's like to save some money on a server and reduce complexity a little bit, but it's not something that I'm so opposed to doing because it's not like it's a massive overhead. But I would like to know how useful it is, either boost in or get in the chat room.
Right. Yeah. If no one uses it, then okay, maybe it's easy to cut. And if it's, people are really enjoying it, then.
Yeah. And I'm thinking too about, I don't know, like an event, like a fest is actually a great reason to have video.
Yeah.
But it's also exponentially easier for us to do audio only.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's literally 10x less gear. You could do it mobile on the go. You could power it from a phone. Like, it's simpler. Just like the equipment we carry around is simpler. It's just everything about it. The bandwidth requirement is less. So I don't know. You can tell in my head's it's just as we enter the new year and budget challenges come up, but also we have back-to-back events that are going to require a lot of travel with limited connectivity.
Yep.
I just start to think
that old argument too, right? Where it's like with audio, we're trying to make it really good, and with video, we're kind of
it's a minimum viable effort.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not that I wouldn't mind one day having the budget to
Right.
put real cameras in and stuff. But in fact, I'm always kind of keeping an eye on what would work and all of that. So if we ever got to that point. And maybe if the sponsor market returns, maybe that's a way sponsorships are still involved. It's like maybe the production of the shows is predominantly funded through value for value mechanisms, either treasure, time, or talent, memberships, boosts, etc. But then we sponsor certain things like this trip is sponsored by somebody, or
Studio upgrade.
studio cameras have been brought, were sponsored by. And that, that's more like one-time large purchases.
Right. You're not depending on it for the day in, day out tasks. Costs.
Right. Survival of the show.
Right.
Mm-hmm. It's like, let's do a thing we weren't doing before. Yeah. All right. Well, that's a good talk. Should we start the show now for real? Jesus, we're running way late. You can tell we haven't been doing this for a while. Engineer Joe says used it, not super common, used it sometimes. Yeah, sure. Video streams for special occasions, says JJ. Dan, of course, always listens via Mumble.
Yeah.
Gets the best low latency stream.
And we love you, Dan.
Today, Dan has a better audio stream than Brent.
Hey. Yep. I mean, that's not unusual, actually.
Dan responded before Brent.
To me, I responded first.
Brent, you just type what you want to say to
Right, to
Dan.
Dan. Well, or Dan could tell you, hey, they just said this.
Yeah, right.
All right.
Embarrassing.
Please do bang suggest in the chat room as we go along. It's bit.ly/ I think join the matrix. Did I do that? Because we needed a new one.
Matrix. Yeah,
Bit.ly/ join the matrix. I don't know if I put I think it might be just join matrix. There might be not a the. Just join me. Whatever. Get in there, bang suggest. Here we go, boys.
I gotta do a real quick new boost poll.
Okay, go ahead. Let's do that.
We got episode 550 coming up soon.
I know.
Now I'm getting nervous.
Do we ever just, you know what we should have established at 500, which big mistake. Maybe we have to establish it at 600.
Let's establish it at 544.
I feel like after 500 episodes, 544. I feel like at some point, like, we get to flip the big milestones, and they don't have to be this massive amount of work where we bust our balls 2 or 3x for a real special occasion. And instead, on the big milestones, we should just basically take the week off. Like, we show up, but this is what we do. We're doing this. This is the show, everybody. Congratulations, we made it to 600. This is what you get. We took the week off, but we showed up. We'll be back next week with real content.
What about if we just
why
start
not?
choosing other numbers too? You know, like why do we got to do the round numbers? Why are those the important ones? Why
Right.
is
Like
544
555?
not special?
Well, actually, like 686 sounds pretty cool.
That's true. Yeah.
586.
Mhm.
That's going to be cool. Yeah. And then when we get into the really big numbers, like certain RFC numbers, that's going to be neat. We'll have to start going twice a week, though, to get there fast enough. I'm getting old.
We could just arbitrarily number the episodes. Why are they linear?
Yeah.
I mean, a
think-
quid's good enough for everyone.
I think the Bitcoin dad does that sometimes. I think he's like, I don't think that's the right number. What? I don't think
Intentionally?
That's not that I haven't done it plenty of times.
Sure.
I sometimes, what I do, honestly, what I've learned, because I've screwed it up so many times, is when I'm double checking the doc, I just go to the webpage or the RSS feed and I just say, okay, what do we, okay, yeah, that's what we published. Okay, that's what I thought. Good. Whew. Got that right this
Yeah,
time.
at least know that way you know you've matched up with what the
Yeah.
public info is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Boost poll in progress.
I been playing around with a little bit more with large language models, and what I find kind of alarming about this is basically getting totally, well, not completely, but I'm getting a lot of different results than what I got the last time asking the same questions. So the models get updated, and I'm getting different results than what I got before.
Yeah. Early days. That's
Do you know what models you're having that issue with? Is it all of them, or is it like specific ones?
One starts with an M, and then the other one is the
Mistral?
Meadow. Yeah, and then the other one is that I use a lot is the uncensored. God, I'm an old man. Llama.
Ah, yeah.
But I play around. I don't know, because I play around with both of them. I got that new, which I don't know. I think we mentioned on the show, the Electron app. I've been playing with that. I'm just I don't know. I don't see the $1 billion market here. I can't believe anybody's going to be satisfied with anything that's. I mean, unless you have a team of developers that can shape and mold this thing into something useful, you know.
Right.
Are there ways to do like version pinning like you would with a package.json or something like that?
Probably.
Yeah, at least for the ones that aren't solely a SAS, you could just like not update or
Yeah, I suppose.
Maybe not
If
in
you got
the-
one that really worked.
yeah,
Hmm.
or at least then your devs could sync with it. Be like, okay, well we can patch up the app for the different behavior. We need to update our prompts like so for the new one.
Yeah.
Because I've heard people complain about that with ChatGPT too. Like it's gotten dumber over time.
Yeah.
And so like they can't rely on the results being consistent enough to use in a business application.
Right. That's what I'm thinking. Could you do that Hangout Live on specials? Yeah, that's a good idea too, specials. I'm really impressed with Fountain 1.0.
I need to give it a try.
Oh.
I kind of cycle through them, but I need to spend some time with Fountain again.
Oh. Can I just show it to you real quick?
Sure.
Um,
You're gonna show me your podcatcher.
First of all, I think the new play screen is gorgeous. So it takes on the background colors of the podcast you're listening to.
That looks premium.
Yeah, it is very nice. The chapter button is right there, brings up the chapters.
Yep.
Showing you where you're at now is much easier, and that just slides right back down. The Boost UI is gorgeous, and it looks more like a comment thread now. And then there's little details there that tell you all about the information about the splits.
Oh, cool.
That makes it really easy. The other thing that they've done is they've integrated music in a really, really clever way. So if you're listening to a podcast that has value for value music, you can now just add it to your local library. And you can put it in music mode. Oh, hey, look, there we are. We're featured too. The whole UI has gotten a complete overhaul, a total remake, and performance is better as well. I can't believe it. They've crushed it. They make it super easy to filter out if you just want music or audiobooks, which is another thing that's going to be coming, value for value audiobooks.
Value for value audiobooks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, sign me up.
Yeah, it's getting exciting. There must be 30 value for value music shows now too. I love this. It's a Mood is one of them. Great show, great name for a music podcast. It's a Mood. That's a brilliant name, right? I wish I would have thought of that. Anyways, Fountain 1.0 absolutely crushed it. Crushed it. Fantastic app. All right, boys, are you ready, Brent?
I think so. We have to do this, right?
Let's do it then.
We have stories to tell.
Yes.
So then WireGuard.
Yep.
WireGuard.
Right.
WireGuard.
Okay, here we go. Are you ready to record, Britt?
I sure am.
Okay, here. Where'd it go? Say something for me real quick.
3.
Okay, gotcha.
Brent on
All right.
tape.
3, 2, 1, record. Hello, Drew.
Hello, Drew.
Yes.
Hello, Drew.
Waveforming.
Man, you're looking good. Looking good. All right, boys. 4 count. 1, 2, 3, 4.
4.
Thank you, everybody. And our moment of silence beginning right now. That was choice. Did that feel like choice silence to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that felt really choice.
Now it sounds so loud in here.
It's actually quite nice. It's actually quite nice. All right. I don't feel ready, but I think we're going to go for it. Oh my God. We don't have a pre-show. How did we do this?
I thought that might have been intentional. I wasn't sure.
God damn it. I hate
I got an anecdote if you want to use it.
What is it? I probably don't, but give it to me.
Okay.
That's why we don't have a pre-show. You're picky.
Go for it.
The first AMD 64-based processor, the Opteron, was released in April 2003.
Oh, nice. Jeff with the
Little facts.
tech history.
Jeff
Just
Jippity.
want to let you know that, this 32-bit challenge, it feels like it was 10 years ago, but it was actually 20.
Oh, wow. Hello, Hello, friends, and welcome back to your weekly Linux talk show. My name is Chris.
My name is Wes.
And my name is Brent.
Hello, gentlemen. Well, coming up on the show, the challenge gets ugly this week as we have slowly realized we actually became zombie slayers, not Linux users. Yes, we loaded Linux on 3 barely alive systems, and it took a turn we didn't expect. We spent the last week plus living on 32-bit systems. We'll share the results of our challenge and why this might be the last chance to try this yourself. We'll also hear how it went for some in our audience, and we'll round it out with some great boosts, some picks, and a lot more. So let's go, all of us, right now, say good morning to our friends at Tailscale. Tailscale.com/Linux Unplugged. Networking that is programmable and takes it to the next level. I've got no inbound firewall ports, and now, my friends, I'm not kidding you, I've got no reverse proxy. It's all just right on Tailscale. It's unbelievable the way you can build your own personal network. Go to tailscale.com/Linux Unplugged for 100 devices. And if you work out there in the enterprise, this makes enterprise VPN solutions look like old historic dinosaurs. It's so much smoother, and it'll integrate with your existing authentication system and groups and privileges and all of that. Tailscale.com/Linux Unplugged. And before we go any further, a big time appropriate greeting to our Mumble Room. Hello, Virtual Lug. Welcome back.
Happy New Year.
Hello, Chris. Happy New Year. Hello, Brent, and hi,
Happy New
Wes.
Year, everybody. Whee!
We missed you guys.
That's a lot of people.
It's been a while. It's
Too
nice.
long.
It's nice to have you back. As we took some time off, we pre-recorded a little bit like we tried to do. We thought, well, we'll have a little extra time. We could do a little challenge over the holiday break. What? That's not the right button. That will be coming
It's
up.
a great sound effect.
It is. I love it.
Oh, gosh.
We thought, how hard could it be? But it turns out that in, well, now 2024, trying to use 32-bit hardware was a bit more challenging than we expected.
It all started with a boost, as these things so often do these days, from our friend Deleted. A 32-bit challenge. You know, at first, I thought it'd be fun.
Yeah.
A little quirky. I haven't used 32-bit hardware in years, but, you know, come on. We were all kind of just using it.
Yeah, how hard could it be?
But it seems like we all kind of got an early start.
Yep.
And as we got further and further along, it seemed like we might be hitting the last actually useful days. Like if we had done this challenge in a couple of years, I think it could have only gone worse.
Oh my gosh. I don't know how you guys feel, but I really firmly got the impression that we are now at the point in Linux's development where we as a community considerably have better support for ARM64 hardware than we do for 32-bit x86 hardware.
Yeah, and especially at least for you know, the modern apps.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I'd be curious to see if you actually went and looked at repo sizes and that kind of thing. But for anything that's sort of in vogue or the silly Linux hipsters that we are that you want to use, and you go to the release page or whatever, and you look for your architecture, AR64 is doing pretty well, and 686 ain't.
Yeah, no. Like almost everything now is packaged for ARM. Not everything, but almost everything is packaged for ARM64 and definitely for x86 64. That is not the same for 32-bit, and it's getting smaller and smaller. So that made it a lot more challenging. So just to remind everybody, the goal was to A, build a fully functional 32-bit Linux-based desktop system, get a general desktop workflow for your day-to-day work going, keep track of any apps you have to swap out, keep track of your system resources overall just so we can talk about how loaded the system was, any kind of like tricks you had to come up with to make this work, that sort of stuff. We did allow for hardware upgrades. So, for example, if you could, we allowed you to swap out spinning Rust for an SSD. If you could put more RAM in, you were welcome to. The requirements were you had to use the system for 1 week before the challenge wrapped. For 1 5-day work week straight, you had to get your work done and your casual stuff done on a 32-bit system. If you failed to reach that simple goal, which turned out to be very tricky, there was a bailout punishment. If you can't stick with your 32-bit system, you're allowed to bail, but you need to get a free BSD desktop system working. Could be a VM, could be hardware.
Some would just call this an alternate challenge and maybe not even a punishment.
It was definitely a punishment, and it definitely was an alternate challenge. Brentley, how did the 32-bit challenge go for you?
Yeah, I guess I should start with the hardware.
Yeah.
Let's describe this hardware. So I've got it here in my hands. I think my version is a little less clunky than yours. I came across this little netbook from a friend of mine by accident. She is not a technical user and said, "Hey, Brent, this like old computer that I have, I want to extract some information off of it." I was like, "Oh yeah, I can probably help with that." And this was when the 32-bit challenge idea was just beginning to come to fruition. And I thought it would be pretty easy to extract information off this laptop. And it turned out my USB keys that I have ready, at the ready at all times, complained about an architecture mismatch when I was trying to boot Linux on here. So I thought, aha, I've got my machine. So it turns out this thing's actually pretty slick. It's small, portable. It's a netbook. I've never owned a netbook. I always wanted to. This one's been in my cabin now for a couple months. So it's been, I don't know, a throwback in a way. This thing's an Atom N2600 1.6 gigahertz, which feels really old. The model is an HP Mini 110, I guess 4100. This particular one is only available in Canada.
Oh, fancy you.
And I misplanned a little bit because this thing has 1 gig of RAM.
Uh-oh.
It can accept 2, and I never thought to even order an upgrade or try to find some old RAM around.
Brent,
so
1 gig. Oh, Brent.
Oh, yeah. When came the time to actually spend time on it, I had upgraded the solid state drive just for this purpose, but then I realized I'd really missed the boat here with the RAM. And also without time to upgrade it. So 1 gig of RAM was my lifestyle for the last little bit.
Holy, and I'm complaining about 2. Now I feel fancy.
Insane.
Luckily, my laptop is circa like 2012. So it's not on the older side of 32-bit stuff. It's on the, I guess, modern, if you will, side of 32-bit things. But the very first approach I took was just going for a dive into all of the various distros that we might throw on here. I really came into this thinking I would find a new favorite esoteric distro. Trying the Debians might seem too easy, maybe, or the Nixes. So I thought I'm gonna find something a little unusual, and that's kind of going to be the fun of it. It turns out there are many options. But it took me a long time to find one that worked. So I, looked at Slacks and Rhino and Puppy and Hyperbola. I don't know if you guys did all of this, but my downloads folder for distros is now quite a bit larger than it used to be.
I did do a little distro shopping for sure. And I also a couple of times downloaded an ISO thinking it was a 32-bit ISO and then realized it wasn't.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Did you only realize it after you put it on a USB drive? Oh,
yeah,
gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, the worst way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The worst way.
So I kind of did a similar thing, although I didn't try some of the same distros you tried. So that's interesting. That's great though. I'm glad we got a little cross exposure.
I feel like some of them, like Puppy and Slacks, I downloaded just for the nostalgia factor.
Right.
And I thought, well, I could, these aren't necessarily new to me. I could try something new. And I ended up landing on Crunch Bang Plus, which is the sort of spiritual successor to Crunch Bang. I don't know if either of you have investigated Crunch Bang back when it was, I'll say in its heyday.
Sure.
I mean, it stopped being developed in 2015, but I kind of fell in love with it in around 2010 when I was first getting into Linux full time. And I don't know what it is about it. It's maybe the dark mode or the simplicity, and I just always loved it. So learning that Crunch Bang Plus exists, I thought this is going to be the one for me. So for those who don't know it, it's Debian based, which is handy. Now, in this case, Debian 12, so fairly new, which means Linux 6.1 and GTK 4.0. So like
very
modern,
nice. Yes.
Right? I thought this is going to be a good start.
That was one of my concerns going into this, is that I would end up with some old kernel or old packages, and I would feel like I was compromising. So that's really great to hear you got some nice modern stuff.
Yeah, and I feel kind of lucky because the processor on this thing isn't, super old. So it could handle, I guess, what you can call a more modern, libraries and system and stuff. Now, Crunchbang Plus Plus uses OpenBox for its desktop environment, so it's pretty darn lightweight. And I ended up learning to love it. Like right on the desktop it has Conky. Do you remember Conky?
Oh yeah, of course.
So it's sort of showing constantly the system resources, but also, which I really appreciated, right on your desktop wallpaper, just a giant list of keyboard shortcuts. So
smart.
Even though it's very minimal, so you might not even realize that there's a menu because there isn't. There isn't until you right click. There's just a bunch of keyboard shortcuts that instantly are discoverable, which is really, really nice. As far as performance goes, a fresh boot on this thing, 560 megs of RAM is used up, which is exactly, slightly over half of what I had available, which is worrisome. And Conky itself, just sitting there, took 4% of the CPU. So some really basic programs are eating up considerable chunks of the hardware. And I would imagine you both and everyone who tried this challenge felt the exact same way. Now, unfortunately, I had some issues on my very first update of the system. The update failed in a catastrophic way, which was not a good start.
Of course.
So init ramfs just could not complete, which is, as we know, kind of quite bad. Now, it's for a strange reason. The error message included that the Raspberry Pi firmware was missing where it could be installed, which is very odd. So I just removed that Raspberry Pi firmware because I was thinking, well, I'm definitely not on a Raspberry Pi. And sure enough, everything got fixed. So that was fairly straightforward, but not a good start. But I did notice that it was complaining of the processor a little bit. And so I thought I'd look into it, and I ran an old LS CPU. And it turns out that my processor is indeed 64-bit compatible. Despite being an i686.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh no, so you were on a 64-bit system by accident?
So I was setting up this machine and everything and totally diving into this.
But were you running so we could do 32 and 64? So were you just running a 32-bit OS
install
on your 64-bit hardware?
People did that for a while. Remember that was a way 64-bit systems came for quite a while?
Well, and so this was a crushing moment because I thought, geez, I've just ruined the whole thing. But the way I even came to including this computer in part of this challenge was that running an AMD 64 version of Ubuntu on this thing complains about an architecture mismatch. And the reason is it is an i686 processor, but it's a 64-bit version of an i686, which I think only existed, from what I'm hearing, for a year or so, right at the end of the transition between the processors. So I was deceived and uneducated and ended up by default failing our challenge.
Man, so did you do the right thing? Did you go into FreeBSD territory? Did you?
I thought about it for a really long time about what I should do because I had this hardware still that was in the spirit of running these older machines on limited resources.
You were running the 32-bit install, so it's a technicality.
Right. But then I thought I need to also be transparent about the fact that I'm not actually running the right hardware. So at that point, I decided, the right thing to do is to throw myself into the BSDs. And that was also a struggle.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay. I am BSD uninitiated. Now, we have some friends who are definitely steeped in BSD and love it for some reason or another. So I kind of switched my hats and thought, okay, well, I'm just going to dive into BSD and this is going to be my adventure. But I did not want to just dive into the build your own BSD because I thought I would probably fail miserably at that. So I went out looking for pre-built desktop versions of the BSDs. It turns out there are a few. Ghost BSD is one. We know about Hello Systems as well. It turns out none of those have 32-bit versions because I still wanted to try to stay on the 32-bit versions.
Oh, what a champ!
The software. Well, I needed to do what I could do to like redeem myself here. Right?
I feel there is some redemption there.
It turns out none of those. Well, only one of those pre-made ones I could find actually had an i386 version, which was Midnight BSD. But it looked pretty cool. Like it's an XFCE desktop. And you're basically installing FreeBSD the way it typically does. And then on your first boot, there's a script that runs that just sort of automates the installation of desktop components for you. And I thought, this is exactly what I need. I can like go through a text-based installation and make a few decisions there, but I did not feel comfortable, even after reading the BSD handbook, of doing my own graphics stack. So it was great. The install went great. And then I did a boot and never got a desktop environment.
Oh.
Despite trying 3-4 times to go through the process. So that failed miserably as well.
Oh, Brent, I'm sorry.
It hurts.
I suppose this is how we should have expected it would go for you, right?
Well,
unfortunately.
And this is across days and days of tinkering on this. So I certainly came out with many lessons, but I don't feel like I ever got to the point where I actually could accomplish work on this system. So many a distro has come across this thing. And I did try FreeBSD like vanilla and attempted to go through that process and failed miserably as so I apologize, but I failed our challenge miserably.
What speed USB ports does that thing have?
This version of the CPU can handle 3, but they didn't even bother with that. So this thing has 3 USB 2. USB, and it also has VGA only. I guess back then it could do HDMI, but they decided no.
Why?
Who needs
No one has those cables.
Yeah, there's nothing like good old USB 2 or even 1 when you're trying a bunch of different distros. You forget just like how sluggish those live environments are.
It hurts.
Just for the Windows to come up.
And with the number of iterations of installation processes I went through, it's just like hours of my life are gone now. But I gotta say, I did sort of still end up falling in love with a few distributions, which was the point, or at least one of my goals. So in the BSDs, I did discover Ghost BSD, which seems pretty great.
Yeah.
It's got a Mate desktop and it's made in Canada. So I feel like I might actually dive much deeper into that and give it a shot at some point. Maybe not on this hardware.
Oh, chief BSD
but also
correspondent.
Well, I'm not promising anything. But also Crunchbang Plus, I got to say, like, was amazing.
That looks like
I
a real
really
win.
enjoyed it. It was nostalgic. It was very responsive on this hardware, and it might be something that I want to stick around. So in that way, I really enjoyed this challenge, and it was a lot of fun.
I would say also Crunchbang looks like a great candidate for a cloud desktop.
Oh,
interesting.
Looks like a really good candidate.
I was thinking maybe a Notes PC.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
stay a while and listen.
Let me tell you a bit about the hardware Wes and I used for our 32-bit challenge. It was a Dell Inspiron 6400, described by one reviewer as, quote, back in the day, a low-priced, durable office notebook. It is particularly interesting for a businessman, but also for private uses.
I don't know which one I'm more excited about.
The 6400 was released on August 31st, 2007, which, my friends, is 16 years ago. This laptop is older than all of my children.
Considerably older than the one I was using. Ouch.
It was very generously, they both were identically, two identical units mostly, were boxed up and sent into the show by Spazzy C.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. They have the Intel T2300 with 2 cores running at 1.6 gigahertz.
Yeah, none of those, fancy hyper threads or anything. They're just two cores.
Yeah. And they feel it. They really, you really appreciate how multi-threaded a lot of things are now. Like Linux is good at throwing a lot of the back-end things on the cores.
Yeah, this thing was at 64 nanometers of architecture.
That's a big boy. The rockin' Intel 945 GM embedded graphics in this one as well, which you're not getting any desktop compositing with that. It's just basically all on the CPU. My rig unfortunately had a DIMM slot die, so I had 2,002 megabytes of RAM. Wes's rig had 300. I like that you changed it. Wes's rig had 4 gigs of RAM. He had 4 gigs of RAM. It makes a difference. Resolution of 1280 by 800. Not the best screen.
No.
Not exactly great off-axis viewing.
And it's got a pretty wobbly. It was like Brent's HP.
Yes.
A wobbly screen setup. So you kind of got to keep retilting it if you want the colors to look normal.
Yes. So this was our hardware. And Wes, how did your 32-bit challenge go?
Honestly, a lot better than I feel like it had any right to, at least compared with Brent's experience. I did do a little bit of distro shopping because you kind of have to with 32-bit. We also, Debian had been suggested a bunch, so I think we all knew one of us was going to have to go down that road. I guess Brent kind of tried. I thought I'd go a little more interesting. So
okay.
I tried Mageia 9.
Oh, very good. Okay, Mageia. I'm very glad you did, actually. I'm glad one of us got to Mageia. Good.
Yeah, well, it kept coming up in the list. I did consider Alpine.
Sure.
Because I've been meaning to try Alpine as a desktop just because some folks seem to like it.
I think both Brent and I were betting you'd do Nix OS.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
next time.
I was thinking about it.
Uh-huh.
But you'd been doing some early experimenting with Gentoo.
Right.
And that kind of informed me for, what building all of your software might be like.
Uh-huh.
And I had done some reading, and it seems like like the default pre-built binaries you can take advantage of with Nix from Hydra and the CI systems. Well, they stopped supporting 32-bit. So, stuff that you could totally build with Nix, no problem if it supports 32-bit in the code.
But it's basically...
You're going to be building it.
Yeah, you're going to be building. I gotcha.
Down the line, I think if we were doing this longer I had intention to actually support this machine, then I would consider maybe trying to do like a build system or something like a VM or like set up for cross-building.
I want to mention, I think both of us would consider that. It wasn't viable for the 5-day challenge to build a build server that did a 32-bit build environment like in a container on a 64-bit system or something, or a VM even, I don't know. But if we were actually going to put these into production, I think that is a route you both of us would go.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a lot of fun to set up on.
I used to do it. All right. So Mageia 9. What's the desktop environment there?
Well, if you go with the 64-bit version, then you can choose between GNOME, KDE, or XFCE.
Sure, sure.
If you're going 32-bit, they only offer a pre-built ISO with XFCE. So I'm going with XFCE 4, 4.18, in fact.
Okay.
But Mageia 9, it was just released in August of 2023, and it's pretty gosh darn modern. I mean, you've got a 6.5 kernel on there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. It has a ton of packages that you're going to want. Let's see. I wrote down the number here. 26,876 packages. And, it doesn't have everything for 32-bit because there's a lot of stuff that doesn't support it. But by and large, when I needed a random tool or just something, it was there. And it's got DNF, which is a great package manager that I really don't mind using. So I was kind of surprised. I felt like I almost cheated in a way because it felt so nice and modern.
Jeez, DNF, yes. Linux 6.5?
Now, Mageia was kind of interesting because it was a little more of like a Cadillac distro, like it includes a lot in there. It's got its own control center that pops up.
Yes.
I was surprised. I've never used it before, and it felt comfy right from the get-go. They've got a nice wiki going. There's a lot of sort of guides written with the intention to get you set up that explains the different repositories they've got available. They got a lot of backports and updates. They have a nice guide for like the various ways you can install software. So they tell you about app image. They tell you about Flatpak. They do mention that, if things offer support for RPM, you can just download that if it's the kind of package that's going to provide its own dependencies. They did recommend if you needed to get kind of random stuff working, Fedora was your best bet compatibility-wise. But besides the 32-bit specific challenges, I was a happy little desktop user.
Yeah, I mean, it really sounds nice. I'm afraid to say I think you may have had the best experience, not to give away mine, but a bit.
Yeah, so software availability wasn't a huge problem, except Electron doesn't really support 32-bit.
Yeah.
I think sometime in 2019 or 2020 that was dropped. So I'll be honest, I did have to port a fair amount of things to the web app. Now I had a nice modern Firefox so that was easy. But things like Bitwarden, Slack, Telegram, Element, at times that was all happening in tabs in my web browser, which I don't know. I kind of end up doing like on my work machine and on things that aren't my main rig often anyway. So I'm used to that. It's really not the ideal workflow, but I could make it work.
Wait, I got a question about that, Wes. You were able to have more than one tab open in your web browser?
Yeah, actually, I was doing pretty good on RAM most of the time.
Oh, jeez.
Come on.
I got down to like maybe 15% sort of available,
You know what?
I get so mad.
I get so mad. All right. I want to tell you how mine went. But before we get there, we do have a few things to talk about. We have a lot of events coming up at the.
You okay over there?
Yeah.
What just happened? Like my chair just busted or something?
It's not. I wouldn't call it a chair. It's more of a wobbly stool.
Well, we should finish. We're so close to being done. I was gonna have you finish on the other end of it, but we're so close. We're so. All right, here I'll do. Here's a cut, Drew. Here's your cut. You got so lucky with the 4 gigs of RAM, West. Like, it was a luck of the draw. We pulled them out, and I took machine 1, you took machine 2. I had a sense, though, because yours had, like, all the cool stickers.
Yes, it did. I got the pimped down version, and I love it.
So then I imagine, other than having to swap out some apps, you were able to get work done on this machine?
I was, yeah. I did even try to get a dev environment set up. I mean, I wasn't going to be doing my day job on it, but for, after-hours projects, Magia already had a modern Python and Java installed. Clojure was even packaged, so that was great. The main issue was the editor. I've been using VS Code a bunch lately.
Sure.
Mostly just because of some of the really nice plugins. Yeah, again, another Electron app. So I actually went with Emacs. Been a while since I used the old girl, but
nice swap. That's a good swap.
It's a nice editor.
It's a good swap. That is a decent one. For my solution there is I already had a VS Code web instance.
Oh, nice.
And so I just made that a little bit easier to get access to and pinned it.
Oh, that's a nice idea. I did think, for a lot of these things, like with Telegram, there's CLI options out there. In theory, it's open source. Someone has an Ubuntu PPA with a 32-bit build.
The Telegram web client's kind of recently got an update, though, and it's really not bad.
Yeah, true.
It's serviceable.
So I was thinking, it's like you kind of got a few different options, right? You got like, can you build it yourself? Is there a web version you can sort of host? Or you got to pick something else.
Yeah.
I did try LAPS, that Rust sort of VS Code like editor we tried a little while ago.
Right.
No pre-built 32-bit version, but it was packaged in Nix. And you know who does provide a 32-bit version?
Nix?
The determinate installer.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So I ran that. I got Nix installed. That worked.
That's great.
To do a little test, I noticed Jeff in our we had a little 32-bit chat going, and Jeff had been talking about Tailscale. That was one thing not pre-packaged in Magia, but I know that's packaged in Nix, of course. So I went and gave a sample build, and it worked. It took like 20 minutes because it first had to build Go, and then it could build Tailscale. But after that, it worked just fine. Nice. So I thought after getting that to work, I was like, okay, try this editor thing, build it. It's a Rust app. It got Rust going, but Labs failed to build. I don't know what was happening. It said something like maybe this was caused by disk space, but it didn't actually seem to be disk space. Doing those builds definitely made me feel the age of the system. It was nice that I could get Tailscale to work.
Yeah.
And I think
good.
I think what I'd be hesitant to do NixOS proper without like a build farm support.
Yeah.
But just doing Nix, it was a little more tolerable. Just because it's like you leverage all the binary stuff you can find in your distro to start with, and then if there's a few apps that you absolutely need and you don't mind paying the build time cost, and maybe they don't update that often, or you're willing to update on a every so often sort of schedule.
Well, and it's not a this or that either, because you're combining at that point you're combining the Nix repository with your distro's native repositories as well, so you can check, is this packaged by my distro? Is this packaged by Nix? It gives you a lot. I mean, that's pretty good odds, at least.
Yeah. Now, of course, there are a bunch of stuff in Nix where they just download the package from upstream on GitHub, so there's not one of those.
Yeah.
And seems to say that there's a lot of things that even if they could, like the codes move beyond 32-bit support too. So you still actually have to have support in the upstream project, even if you're going to be building it yourself, which can be tricky.
Well, I think that's been a big theme. It's extremely tricky. It's an area I don't even think is on most of their radars.
No, because who's asking for these anymore?
Right. That was the big realization I had.
I did try using containers. I figured, how is that going to go? But Docker and Podman were packaged in Mageia, so that was super easy to get going. You run into a similar problem where, anything that's pre-built, you're using a pre-built container, no one's publishing 32-bit container images.
Right. I got a couple, and it'll pull them down. There'll be no error when it's pulling them down. It won't say, hey, you're pulling down a 64-bit image. It'll just fail to execute.
Yeah.
Yeah, which we discovered. We'll get to that in a little bit.
But if you're, you got something where you're comfortable building it yourself and you found some 32-bit base images you can use, then containers can work.
Yeah. I you can't use the lazy script on Docker's website to install Docker if you do that because they don't make it available for 32-bit x86. It is available for ARM, but not. But Debian packaged it for 32-bit, and I was able to get it that way. So how I ended up on Debian, how I went from Gen 2 to Debian, though, is quite the story, and we'll get there. But first, we have a few items that we need to take care of because there's big events coming up just around the corner. Scale and NixCon North America, the very first, March 14th and the 15th are up first. We are on our way. We are really doing well on our goal to cover the first NixCon in North America and then hang out at Scale. We have a goal of 8 million sats because we're sending the crew into California. We're going to get an Airbnb. We're driving there. We got to pay for gas. Gas is outrageous in California. It's actually kind of ambitious overall because we're trying to completely audience fund this trip. So we came up with the idea of 8 million sats-ish. And so far, we have raised 1.6 million. Oh, you updated down here. I see. Wait. And so far, we have raised 3.7 million sats, and we're at 47% of our goal of 8 million sats.
Probably 48 now because we got a few late boosts that I didn't get time to update in that exact count yet.
Okay.
So
good.
Even slightly higher.
Great. We're halfway there now. So I think we're almost to maybe Mount Shasta. Maybe somewhere in that
that's
area.
A fun way.
Weed, California. Just I don't know why. Maybe we're just in Weed, California.
Come meet us there if we run out of gas.
We are trying. If we would love a boost. I now also have added a scale specific boost sound effect. If you boost them with a scale boost, we'll play that as a thank you. And we're really looking forward to hanging out with everybody. It's been far too long. Then just a little bit down the road, if you will. April 26th through the 28th, it is Linux Fest Northwest. We're, of course, going to be there. It's our biggest event of the year. It'll be probably our last event that is planned of the year. I'm sure there'll be others, but it's our last planned event. And just before Linux Fest Northwest, Texas Linux Fest, April 12th through the 13th. We're going to be there. Not really sure more than the details of that, but I'm feeling at this point we're pretty confident we're going to be there. Hopefully there for the Eclipse too is what the plan is. So we have back-to-back events, really. March and then 2 in April. First is Texas Linux Fest, the 12th and the 13th. And then April 26th and the 28th is Linux Fest Northwest. If you're listening, call for papers at Linux Fest Northwest. And if you're listening, call for papers for Linux Fest Northwest is January 9th. It ends at midnight. I'd love to see some Nix topics in there, some self-hosting topics.
We know you're working on cool projects, audience.
Yeah,
Tell
really.
us about it.
They want a wide range of topics. Anything's really welcome. So go over there and submit your talks. It's a bunch of events we have coming up, and we don't really know what the budget looks like for the rest of the year. We don't really know how anything's looking for the rest of the year, really beyond this. So we're not really committing to anything beyond these 3 events right now. So if you can make it to one of those, we would really, really love to see you. Oh, collide.com/unplugged. Are you burning out? Simple stuff you constantly have to keep answering the same question over and over again. Collide.com/unplugged. Go check it out. It's a solution for a lot of that low-hanging fruit that you don't need to be dealing with. You got a setup for me? I should have thought of that, I suppose.
Yeah, I could do it.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, Chris, you hinted at your challenge, and it feels like maybe Wes was doing a different challenge than the rest of us. But I'm curious how your challenge went.
Oh, it went slow. It was slow and brutal. Just like, here's an example. For this system to log in, it takes as long as my desktop, which isn't a very nice system. It takes as long as my desktop does to actually power up, post, boot, and log in. In that amount of time for my desktop, I can get just logged in to the desktop on my laptop. It's real slow. The 2 gigs of RAM is one thing. The other issue is the Wi-Fi chip's a little bogus in this guy.
Oh, my Wi-Fi works. No problem. I mean, I'm using it at the studio today.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes I can see networks on it sometimes. Most of the time, not. So no problem. Went on the old Amazon and ordered myself one of them little Linux-compatible dongles. You know, just a little bitty-bitty guy. Problem solved, right? Put that guy in there. Well, first of all, these things are so small. They don't get the best reception.
No.
So there's that. And then, I don't know if these side ports are USB 1 or USB 2.0.
Either way, they're definitely not USB 3.
They're definitely slower than my Wi-Fi and internet connection. And I was getting like 300 kilobits a second on my transfer.
Cool. Oh, man.
Brutes. So when I set the machine up, I used Ethernet, but very slow overall. So I realized pretty quickly, I need to make this thing feel like home. I got to make this comfortable because I'm in this to win it. And if FreeBSD is looming out there, I'm going to do whatever it takes to prevent me going down the FreeBSD route. So I got to get myself at home, right? So that way I'm in it for the long haul. I learned this from Alone. You know what? I realized the participants in the reality show Alone, they do the best, so they really build a great home. So that way they're comfortable when it rains and it's stormy, and they can stay dry and get good rest. So I took this survivor mentality and I applied it to the laptop. And so I wanted modern software. I didn't want to feel like I was compromising. So I wanted to get the latest kernel, the latest userland tools, and the latest lean, mean desktop I could get.
Yeah, this sounds like you.
Right. And along the way, I'll have super optimizations. This feels like the sweet spot for Gen 2. And I used to run Gen 2 on systems basically this speed. How hard could it be?
Something tells me that was a whole Chris ago.
Yeah, well, I have learned now. So, first thing I did, I busted out one of my old, really nice, heavy-duty laptop stands. And I put this thing up on a laptop stand. Put it up there at eye level. So I'm sitting there and I'm looking right at it like I would one of my big screens. I get myself the launch keyboard. I want it to feel real good. Plug it in. Oh, launch keyboard's USB 3.
Oh.
So that's not going to work. Unplug the launch keyboard. I go find myself like an old USB 1 keyboard, but okay, whatever. I get myself a mouse, an old mouse with a wire. Get myself the keyboard, and because I was trying to Logitech first, like a Logitech wireless mouse, and like 1 out of every 3 clicks would register, and I was like, "Is the machine lagging? Am I out of memory? Like, what's going on here?" No, it's just like for some reason incompatibility with the USB port. So I went and got like literally the Amazon Basics wired USB mouse that I had around here.
Yeah,
plug that in and it's working. And then I went out to try to pick the right. And then I went out to set up the right environment. My first choice out of the gate, for the reasons I stated, was Gen 2. And I've done this before. I figured, what a great hack in 2023, 2024 to have the latest and greatest Linux software on a 16-year-old rig. That's only a story you could tell in the free software world. And then I had a realization that when you want to build software, like Wes mentioned, you have to download the dependencies. And that, in today's world, when you download just the build dependencies that you'll just actually throw away when you're done, it is an unbelievable amount of downloading. And when you combine the fact that, half of this challenge I was out in the woods, and I didn't have very good connectivity for some reason this time. So, like, the downloads were horrible anyways. And then when I got here to the studio, it was no much better, practically. I started running the clock out of time with Gen 2, and I started to panic. Because I was spending my whole time, like, tweaking Gen 2, trying to get to just a usable state, and then downloading build dependencies.
And then building the build dependencies.
Yeah. Oh, man. Oh, man. And I realized I need to get 5 days in at least consecutively. So I pivoted. And I pivoted to good old Debian 12. And I really worked at it. I wanted it to feel like home. And God bless Debian's 32-bit support. Jeez, it was like a breath of fresh air.
I mean, if it supports it, right? Like the Debian archives, there's
There,
some
yeah.
software.
Mm-hmm.
And then so many things that, work with Debian.
Yeah. Yeah, so many guides and because it's just the Debian community culture, there's still a fair amount of 32-bit users out there, so you can actually find 32-bit relevant discussions.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. God, I'm sorry. I'm really talking with my hands today. Yeah, I was actually never really stranded with any kind of guides or how-to or information I needed to look up when I was on Debian 32-bit. It just, I kept tweaking at it, trying to get it right. And I became aware of the fact that I wasn't actually working on this system. I was just tweaking this system. And then you came in literally on like day 6, day 6 or 7, where I had like 5 or 6 days left. And you said, are any of us trying Linux Mint Debian Edition? They have a 32-bit release. And I thought, I'm never a Mint guy.
No.
But this might be my moment. Because what I'm looking for is an opinionated take on the desktop.
Because if you're just kind of going Debian, you're getting a pretty plain.
Yeah. And if I were going to use this as a long-term work machine, that might be the way to go. I wanted to use this for 5 days. And I wanted
it to work. You needed it to be.
If I click on the Windows share in the file manager, I want to see the Windows network. I don't want to go, oh, crap, right, I got to go install SMB and SMB client. I got to go set that. Oh, right. I don't want any of that. I just want to get to work. I have 5 days now because I've run the clock out.
Right.
And I wanted a nice file manager. I want all this kind of stuff that Mint just brings in there. So I put Linux Mint Debian Edition on there. And first of all, really nice. Second of all, went with Cinnamon at first because I thought I can lean and mean this thing down.
Yeah.
I still like it after all these years. And even after all the leaning and meaning and turning off the compositing and all of that, it just never really got responsive enough for me to use it. So I bailed and I did like one of those Debian moves where you have like the task cell selector. And I went full XFCE mode.
Hey, all right.
Yeah, buddy. But it was nice because it was XFCE basic, but with all of like the Mint apps and stuff. That was a nice combination. And I tweaked XFCE a little bit to just kind of help me understand like where my memory was at and my swap pressure was at and all that kind of stuff. And pretty quickly after that, Linux Mint Debian Edition with XFCE, that combination, I pretty quickly settled right in and got to work. It just sort of clicked for me. So then I had to start a strategy of reducing disk I/O and memory usage as fast as possible because, look, Mint worked great for me, but it's not the leanest distribution out there. Like sometimes just the update manager in the background is like taking 240 megs of at least virtual RAM. So I had to get to work. So I set up ZSwap and I disabled completely my traditional disk-based swap. And then I experimented with a swappiness around 80 to even over 100 sometimes. And ZSwap is a kernel feature that really provides a compressed write-back cache inside your RAM. So it takes your swap, allocates some of your RAM dynamically, and it basically makes a RAM disk for your swap file that is, and you set the compression type. I think I did, was Z, whatever the Z.
Z standard, I think?
Yeah, I did that because there's a couple of different options, and that's sort of like the mid-range for speed and compression. And so you get a compressed space in your RAM that you can swap to. So you sort of reduce the penalty for swapping. Again, now keep in mind, I turned off my disk-based swap.
Right, yeah. So when you do swap, it's only to this special memory.
In RAM. Mm-hmm. And then I tell the system with the swappiness variable, ramp up your preference to swap.
That way most stuff is going to get compressed.
Yeah, so only really my active applications are in system RAM, and then everything else essentially ends up inside ZSwap. And it's pretty straightforward to get going. There's a couple of different ways you can get at it, but there is one package you'll recognize. It's like ZSwap configure, and if you install that, that's the more kind of walks you through it approach, so I'd recommend that. And then inside Firefox, you can actually go to about:memory and tell it to free up tab memory and get it to dump and reduce memory. And I had to do that.
That's a nice trick.
Yeah. That was one method. Or just close Firefox when I needed to open up another app was another method. And then I wonder what you think of this approach, Wes. I went for a specialized out-of-memory killer. And I might have gotten in over my head because this is not a territory that like I'm very well versed in. But I went for this no-hang memory killer.
Ooh, fun. I don't think I've tried that one.
No, I hadn't either. But it does a couple of things I like that, for me, felt logical in a low-memory system. So this out-of-memory killer, it's watching your system. And as your system starts to run out of RAM, it'll start looking at applications it can kill. This is a situation I would find myself in frequently. And what I liked about no-hang is it's pretty easy to say, I don't like the terminology, but it's got a victims list. And you give it a victims list, and these are the first things you start killing.
That way you can kind of like, I know this app is fine. I can reload it. It saves automatically, whatever.
Right. And you can do all kinds of different things in there, including it'll support C groups, certain environment variables, regular expressions. So you can get pretty fancier than I got. The other thing it supports is it communicates with me via my desktop notifications. So I get a notification of the app that was killed. So I'm not just in the dark.
Okay. Doesn't disappear out from under you.
Which has been my experience with all the other out-of-memory killers.
Right. You're like, oh, I guess that got killed.
And again, this is a condition I find myself in a lot. It also starts giving me low memory warnings before it starts killing. So I can like close a tab. Or I can go do the about : memory and dump some memory. It supports ZRAM as well. So it's ZRAM aware. So I wanted something that worked with ZRAM, and it supports that semi-recent kernel pressure stall information, the PSI support.
Oh yeah, didn't Facebook help add that?
Yeah, so it's getting that data signal from the kernel to better understand how bad the situation is, and it's also super easy to set up too. It's really nice. So that kind of kept me at a situation where I couldn't multitask, but I could easily dual task. Like if I wanted to use, say, a matrix chat client, which I'll talk about here in a second, I would generally close Firefox first.
Yeah, I was feeling the same. You know, two cores, two tabs. Yeah. That's kind of what you do.
And like you said, you got to swap out the Electron apps. I went for Slack for the places where I have to use that. I went with a pinned Firefox tab. I swapped out Neko for Element Chat. NHEKO.
Oh, I tried that a little bit too. It was packaged in Mageia.
Yeah, it's my new favorite matrix chat client, right there, straight up. So this is sort of a pick too. Walk away, even on 64-bit systems. I'm going to be using this. It's Qt based and C++, and you have an option right there at the login screen, which I think is vital on these systems to reduce animations.
Oh, nice.
And again, it's not Electron.
Yeah.
And it's seemingly very, very well featured. It doesn't have everything. Like I think it's missing threads and polls.
Did you just get it from the Debian repo? Or?
Yes.
Nice. Okay.
Yes. It's so nice that it's in the Debian repo because FlatHub has all this, but FlatHub doesn't have any 32-bit stuff.
Gosh, no.
I'll give a plug though for NeoChat. Maybe slightly less memory usage. Also Qt based. So that's nice. But Debian really was the MVP here. FlatHub had nothing for us. A lot of websites have nothing for us. But Debian had it in the repo almost every time, like Docker, for example.
Yeah.
Both NeoChat and Neko were available in Debian. Lots of stuff was in the Debian package repo.
It was kind of a nice little reminder about, on these modern Linux systems, we're so happy sideloaded and getting all kinds of other places, but it was a stark reminder of the value that some of these, the distribution maintainers and packagers really do.
It was a total mind shift shit. Was it? Is that what I say? Is that what I say? Mind shift shit? It was a total mind shift because we are so often like rolling distros now, current packages, Flatpak, developers updating directly. This is a complete flip back to the old paradigm. And where I have sort of been like, we don't need the maintainers anymore. I want the Flatpak directly or whatever. I want to just download it from GitHub. This process made me deeply grateful.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not packaged there, you're probably not getting it, at least not without probably a little more work.
Yeah. The viability of my system was dependent on these maintainers. Deeply grateful for their work. And also for the people that are doing the work to package the 32-bit software, which there's not a lot of users for. It's just, I really came away from this reminded how grateful I am for that system and how it is still so viable all these years later. And wow, man, I don't know. I'm just really, really thought Debian was the MVP. I kept Mint. Mint came in clutch, as my kids would say. And it does kind of use more memory. It's definitely not as lean as just going Debian would. So I would, if you're really trying to eke the most performance out, I'd probably go stock Debian because it's got that deep repo. And there's so many different guides out there still. I just really, really, really thankful for their hard work just for that. And the Linux Mint Debian edition is actually really nice. It's really nice. So painful though. So slow. When I came down here to like fire all this stuff up, it was like, geez, man, it's just a whole nother level. Really appreciative of how far we've come now.
You know, I didn't have the memory constraints you did, but I was really feeling that CPU.
Oh yeah.
Anything that was using a lot of JavaScript, like, you know, we use hedge docs for our show notes, and doing a long doc, trying to make edits real quick in there.
Really?
It was painful. Uh-huh.
Oh no.
I mean, it worked, right? Like I could get my work done, but a lot of that, like, right, okay, I type and wait, and I gotta be a little more flexible with my expectations here.
Yeah. Jeff, I know you were playing along at home with the 32-bit challenge game. Do you want to give us an idea how it went for you?
Oh, it didn't really go. I just tried a lot of stuff. I've got a couple netbooks similar to Brent's, but a bit older. One's got an N280. It's a single core with hyperthreading, and the other's a 270, same single core hyperthreading. They're very, very close to each other, about 1.6 gigahertz, and both had a gig of RAM, DDR2.
Okay. 1 gig, huh?
Yeah. So I went with that. One of them, there's something up with the system. It kept stalling out on me. No matter what I did, it would just stall out. I tried to run like an NES ROM, and it would just stall out. I couldn't even do that. So
hardware
I switched
issue?
over to this. I took it apart to repaste it. I kind of wonder if putting it back together screwed with something, but it wasn't overheating. So I don't know. Yeah, weird. But this other one, slightly slower, the N270 Atom, it's running fine. I'm talking to you right now via Mumble with it.
Wow.
I'm a pleb, compared to you guys. I don't use Linux to make money. I don't use it for a living, right? This is fun for me. So finding things to do was kind of the hard part. And just distro hopping was just kind of the fun of it, right?
Yeah, what all did you end up running?
Yeah, I started with Magia, just like you did. Mandriva was my first Linux love. That was my first Linux desktop.
Oh, neat.
So when I saw that was 32-bit, kind of a spiritual successor, I tried that, and it didn't go. It didn't go well at all. Way too much RAM on boot, and I just had to move on quick. I tried different desktop environments, even Window Maker. It just wouldn't work. So distro hopped for a while, and one of the real standout distros for me was Slitaz. Very, very lightweight, very fast, but very limited.
Secure and high performance.
Yeah, secure, sure.
That's what they brand
kernel
themselves.
are they running? Yeah. Booting up with Slitaz, on this machine, I started with around 45 megs of RAM. So gives me lots of headroom to play.
Yeah.
The desktop environment, or the window manager rather, very, very fast. Midori on that thing really flew, but that's kind of where I hit a wall. I couldn't run Firefox on that system, and I couldn't get a browser that would render anything. So, and there's really nothing packaged for it, right? It's more of that. It's a little bit more versatile than, say, Puppy or DSL, but it's still in that realm.
Looks
So
like
I
it's
found
actively updated too. Here's a post today talking about 5.0 rolling release weekly. I don't know.
Yeah, it is rolling, but not much is packaged for it. And I'm like I said, I'm a pleb, right? I'm not going to go through and try to compile every damn thing.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
So I found myself on Antix, which is where I'm at now. And it is Debian based, so a bit more. I've got Firefox on here. It's a bit slow. The kernel's quite out of date. But, I'm talking to you. I got a couple things open, and it's sitting at 230 megs of RAM. And I can run up to SNES games on this sucker.
That is impressive.
All right. Ben, you gave it a go. How'd it go for you?
Yeah, it was pretty rough. So,
Oh, I'm sorry.
so I actually had kind of the same journey as Brent and Chris. I started off, I had an old Dell netbook, but ended up having the same kind of Intel Atom that ended up being 64-bit, so I knew I couldn't use that. And then I realized I had a kind of unconventional system, an iMac G3 Power PC from, I think, 1999. 256 megabytes of RAM ended up being the real pain point there.
No doubt. Wow. Oh, yeah, like would you do command line only? Like,
yeah, I got XFCE running, but I couldn't really do all that much in it. An old IDE hard drive, so I couldn't do much swap if it'd be painfully slow. So shout out to Lynx and Gomux, web browser and Matrix client in the command line really got me through.
Wow.
Yeah, I bet.
Also the Mutt email client as well.
Yes. I was hoping somebody used Mutt. Nice, Ben. Well done. Well done. You didn't have to do FreeBSD. That's what matters.
Yeah.
That's right. Isn't that it? I think that's the takeaway, right? I mean, my final thought is I'm really glad we did this when we did this. I feel like I probably won't ever use a 32-bit system again, an x86 32-bit system, and this was a nice send-off. The Magia approach, seems like maybe one of the easier approaches. I think Wes got a winner there. Followed by, if you have the RAM, I think Linux Mint Debian Edition was really solid.
Yeah.
And it sounds like, Brent, you found a winner in Crunch Bang Plus Plus. So we all came away with some new distro favorites, at least. That's not so bad.
I have another real quick takeaway.
Okay.
If I may.
Yeah.
So finding this whole challenge to be quite fun, I'm thinking back at these systems. Like, man, we used that when I was a teenager, right? That was only 10 years ago, right? Wait, no, that was 20 years ago, guys.
Yeah.
64-bit CPUs have been around a lot longer than we think. And then I was actually looking up, trying to remember what I ran back then. And even those systems, though they were running 32-bit Windows, they were 64-bit CPUs. So finding hardware to even run it on, Intel Atoms are kind of like the last 32-bit systems that they kept producing, and they're just, crap. But it was a lot longer than I remembered, that's for sure.
Well, thank you to our Unplugged Core members. You guys are awesome. And if you're not a member yet, or if you've been a member and want to resign, you can get double the content and support the production directly. If you use the promo code 2024, it'll take $3 off a month forever. It's a limited time offer. I'm going to make 50 redemptions possible.
Oh.
Which is not very many. Promo code 2024. Also, you can use the link in the show notes. It'll take you directly there. It applies to get an Unplugged Core membership, or if you want to get the Jupiter Signal membership and support all the shows and take $3 a month off of that, you can. Again, limited to 50 people. New purchases, existing members can apply this as well as a thank you. Or if you're reactivating an expired subscription, or if you want to upgrade from your Unplugged Core membership to the party membership, just use promo code 2024 to direct support us with your Fiat Fund coupons. And we really appreciate it. We no longer have Linode as a sponsor. Totally okay with that because, while we're sad to see them go, they were fantastic. They were great to work with. And just a great sponsor in general, and worked with us for a nice long time, helped us go independent. So supremely grateful to them, and we, if we ever get a chance, we'd love to work with them again. But in the meantime, we're probably just going to look for new sponsorship opportunities. Hopefully somebody out there, maybe somebody in the audience is even interested in sponsoring. But for now, we'll just say go become a member and help support us directly. Maybe we won't even need to fill this spot.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, wouldn't that be? Unpluggedcore.com or link in the show notes to go directly to the $3 off forever. Use promo code 2024. 50 signups only, though, so it's not going to last long.
Now, many of you took the challenge with us, the 32-bit challenge. If you'd like to share your experience, you can share that with us. linuxunplugged.com/contact, or even in our Matrix room. We have a special 32-bit Matrix room with about 20 people who did the challenge with us. So we'd love to hear your experience. Let us know I don't know, how you conquered your memory.
Or didn't.
challenges.
That's okay too.
Or, yeah, fair enough. Or maybe even with some of these tips, you want to take the challenge over again. I don't know. Maybe you're crazy. But one thing we did talk about along with this challenge was setting up a BBS. So if you'd like to set up a BBS, which we didn't quite get to, we would love that. So we're asking, if anyone wants to run an official BBS, you can be the official Unplugged program BBS. So it's a bit of a challenge within a challenge. If you boost in with your stood up BBS that you think might handle a little bit of our traffic, you might just become the official Unplugged BBS. So stand one up, let us know.
We would love that. It's something we didn't get to. We played around with it a little bit. We wanted to run it on 32-bit hardware. When we talked about containers that will pull down and just try to execute but then fail, that's an example of one of them that we tried.
Yeah.
But, now that the challenge is over, we thought it would be fun to have a BBS, if maybe have the official Linux Unplugged BBS, kind of whoever claims it first, as long as it can work and has some things to do on it. It'd be really neat if anybody's interested. Maybe.
Are there any matrix bridges for BBS?
Oh, maybe. Probably.
The challenge deepens. Well, our buddy Olympia Mike also took the challenge along with us and even wrote in about it. Happy 2024. I realize that I've been a Jupiter Party member for well over a year at this point and love it.
Thank you, Mike.
For anyone out there that wants to support the show directly but can't wrap their head around Boost, I highly recommend becoming a member. Well, Mike took on the 32-bit challenge over the Christmas break using a Dell D820 with a Centrino processor, 3 gigs of RAM, and a spinning Rust drive.
Oh.
He's really taking it.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah.
After failing to set up Peppermint, the 32-bit version, and NixOS 32-bit, ouch, Mike landed on Debian 32-bit with XFCE. I'm sensing a common path here, huh? And despite some challenges and limitations due to things like lack of Chromium and Electron, Mike managed to set up a PHP, MySQL, and Nginx stack, and even managed to use the system for coding and production work
Wow.
for 6 days.
Well done,
That's
sir.
impressive.
Well done.
He also mentioned that just using the web was kind of hit and miss, especially because a lot of sites with a lot of JavaScript just crawled. Yeah, amen there.
Yeah.
Wraps up by saying, it was so fun. I ended up writing an article about my experience, too. Thanks again for a fun thing to do over the holidays while my wife shook her head and wondered why anyone would do this to themselves.
Yeah, she's not wrong. I wondered that too. Thank you, Mike. We'll link to his blog posts. He had a great one about his experiences. I'll put that in there.
It was kind of fun. I did make that joke to a couple people because I had the laptop out. I was like, oh, yeah, did you check out my new laptop? Just to confuse them.
It's got these nice media control buttons right here on the front. Yeah. Yep.
I had half considered taking mine to Berlin with me on my international trip
Brent,
because
you-
mine is pretty small compared to yours.
True.
And in the end, I decided probably that was a bad idea, and it stayed home in the cabin.
And now it is time for Le Boost.
Yes, it is. And the Dude Abides comes in as our first baller of the year with a lead old baller boost of 133,700 sats. Using the new fountain, and he just comes in and says, Happy New Year.
Thank you, dude.
Yeah, thank you very much, dude.
Eric boosts in with 100,000 cents. Nick's gone, North America, let's go.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I can make it, but would love to hear y'all cover it.
Okay. Yes, sir.
And I'm with you on the importance of skip intro. And it's kind of a bummer with it really missing on Jellyfin.
Yeah, I have been, even through the holiday, we've been watching shows and stuff, been catching up on For All Mankind.
Oh, nice.
Hard recommend. But it's got a long intro, boys. It's got a long one. And man, so I'm sitting there doing the manual fast forward and scrubbing on the timeline and then oh God, I miss it.
There's plugins, but it's not at the level of Plex.
No.
Plex makes it nice and smooth. I really can't comprehend why people give you flack for it.
Well, you know what? They don't understand because they're not trying to watch Star Trek Enterprise or For All Mankind, Eric. It's I feel seen.
I've recently got into Mythbusters again. And their intro is like a minute 30, and it kind of gives away the episode. So I always want to skip it. It's been painful.
Yeah. Eric continued, my wife knows that internally I'm annoyed whenever the skip intro button doesn't come up in Jellyfin. Now, this part's very interesting. On a different note, services.postgresql backup on NixOS saved me. I was upgrading image and going through the motion of upgrading when I upgraded to a 2 new version of pgvector.rs, and it broke image.
Uh-oh.
Combined with services.borg backup, I was easily able to fetch an older version of my database, restore it, downgrade, and was back up and running. What a neat little success story. And also, I'm sorry I had to go through that, but thank you for sharing.
Sounds like services.postgresql backup is something we need to look into, Wes Payne.
I think so.
Chris is editing his config as we speak.
I was looking it up right then. I think I'm take a look at this. I'm running image. I guess I just got a load full of photos. Load it.
Jegbert boosted in earlier today with 100,000 Satoshis. Thank you very much. It's my very first boost. I've been listening for over a decade, and I'm looking forward to NixCon and scale content.
Wow, J3, thank you. I am amazed we're still hearing from long-timers, and I always want to say thank you. I know the initial setup process, it's not necessarily obvious. There's not a great guide out there. It is a bit of a hike. We really, really, really appreciate you doing that hike. Welcome. It's all downhill from here, though. Well, not downhill in terms of content. Downhill in terms of how much effort it takes.
Yeah.
I should come up with a better analogy.
We look forward to your continued boost. We're talking with you. Boost you back later.
Yeah, you've got a better take on that. Boost that in. I need to do a better job. Goose comes in with 60,000 sats. Use some breeze. Says, Merry Christmas. I'm looking forward to meeting you in Austin. Oh, right on, Goose.
Oh, nice.
Right on. Well, I'm looking forward to that as well.
Thought Criminal comes in with 48,240 sats. Scale!
Yes.
On with the show.
Thank you, Thought Criminal.
Well, Hybrid Sarcasm came in with 42,000 sats via Castamat.
Ultimate question.
Inspired by the 2023 boosties, here's the first of many boosts to make sure I'm on the leaderboard for the 2024 boosties.
He's got a plan. I like it. Nice and steady. And just to help you along your journey, I did add a brand new 42 soundbite.
The answer to the ultimate question.
So we've got a scale soundbite. If you boost in for a little scale love. And a 42.
Make it so.
So, boost in. Mentat comes in with 22,301 sats using Podverse. Postal codes with letters are awkward, but there's half of mine. If the first two and the last two digits represent letters, it should at least point to half of my tone. Tone? I think my tongue died over the holiday break. I think I have like paralyzed tongue.
Did the cats get your tongue?
It should at least point to half my town. Hope to see you guys at Linux Fest Northwest. Yes. Yes. Menitat. All right. So, geez, Wes, that's a hard one. I mean, you got, oh, good. You brought the map.
Yeah, it doesn't have a translator in
No.
it. Okay, so if the first two and last two digits represent letters, could it be something like CC3AB if you have 0 as A? Or does it mean that like you have to pair them up? You know, they're not individual ones. So is it something like 22301?
Oh, Brentley's got a converter over there.
I have a theory.
Okay.
Here's one we can try to decode. So if you take the first two digits, which are 22, is that maybe the position in the alphabet? And then the 3 and 01 being A, for instance. So I'm using postal codes as in maybe it's Canadian or something, a system I'm familiar with. It's letter, number, letter. So that's my theory.
I think you're onto something because what we've got 22, that's V. So is it V3A? If we plug that in, well, Google says it's a postal code in British Columbia.
Which would make sense if they're going to come down for Linux Fest Northwest. Boys, think you solved it.
Maybe Langley? Is that your town?
let us know, Minutat. Thank you for boosting in. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for the assist, Brent.
Yeah. Nice job, Brentley.
Go team.
I think it's you.
I forget.
Yeah.
I forget who. Yeah. All right.
Woodcarver boosts in with 22,222 cents.
Hey, that's a row of McDucks.
Things are looking up for old McDuck.
For the 32-bit challenge, the only machine I had laying around was my Amiga 1200.
Okay, all right, okay.
It actually sports a Motorola
68020 processor.
There we
Yeah,
go.
buddy. Yeah, the old Motorola 6800 series.
The first 32-bit 68K CPU.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, I used to have one in a Mac though. Yeah.
Today I used it to write a document, and then I played some Stunt Car Racer.
Oh,
That's as far as I'll get on this challenge, though.
well done, Will Carver.
Very
Well
nice.
done.
Neat.
I don't know why, but I have nostalgia for those 68K CPUs. That was the first computer I ever got to 16 megabytes of RAM. It came from the factory with 2. I slowly got it to 4, and then I maxed it at 16 megabytes.
That must have been luxurious.
And even back then, I was using RAM compression.
You're a monster.
Now, the open source accountant boosted in 2 boosts for a total of 3,500 sats using Fountain. I got my I voted sticker from the Golden Dragon shop, and I wanted to say thank you to JB for connecting me with my new non-profits sticker vendor.
Oh, very good.
You're definitely going to have to do some accounting on the transfer of assets related to boosts.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's definitely a thing. But it's a thing like for all things like in business. I thought about this. If I were to do, say, transactions where we just took the money, then we would still have to do the transaction fees on that and do the same accounting for the revenue on that. So as far as a business accounting, it's just a different style, different kind. Faraday Fedora comes in with Roa Ducks. Merry Christmas, you guys. It was an awesome year. I'm not going to do the 32-bit challenge because you're braver men than I. Well, we'll take the boost, Faraday. Thank you very much.
Something.
Yeah.
Batfin123 comes in with 5,500 sats. Cow goes boost.
Boost.
And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Now, Tom's dad boosted in 5,000 sats, saying, here's a video from an excellent YouTuber about how to control your Max Air fan. Enjoy.
Yes, I did, Tom's dad. Well, so that basically confirmed everything I suspected. It is a lot of work, but it is exactly kind of the work that I conceptualized, so I think I could do it. But you're taking the thing apart and whatnot still, and they're brand new fans. So I'll do it when we service them at some point or when the board dies from moisture and I have to replace a new board. I'll wire this up.
Yeah.
I am so all in on automation, though. It is game-changing for comfort and quality of life. Game-changing. And I think, I don't know how on board the kids are. They don't know life otherwise.
Right.
But the wife's on board, so that's what matters.
So are the mice.
I do catch the mice. I do. Storm Clouds comes in with 7,000 sats using Fountain. Says, I tried Fountain off and on, and I'm going back to AntennaPod, which I hear that a lot. And you know what I thought was really awesome? Is Oscar, the core developer of Fountain, actually reached out to Storm Clouds and started talking to them, trying to figure out what's not working for them because they have a brand new 1.0 release. It's tricky because AntennaPod's at a different part of its life. It's sort of at, not the tail end, but the mature end of a cycle.
It's been around for a while.
Whereas Fountain was just kind of going from startup now to kind of, it's just reached 1.0 and it's brilliant. And now they're kind of entering, the early stage of refinement. But it's going to be still a few years of that early stage. But the stuff they're adding is so great, especially if you want to try out some of these new music podcasts. Something really special happening over in the music value for value podcasts while the rest of the podcasting, quote unquote, industry is collapsing. Yives comes in with 3,000 sats. Thanks for the great show, guys. Happy holidays. Zack Attack also comes in with 5,000 sats. Wow, I didn't realize I'd boosted it in that much over the year. Thank you for the great commentary, reviews, and news. I look forward to listening through 2024. And Wes, you see that? Mr. Casaversa right there with Aroa Ducks.
Don't distro hop and didn't feel well informed enough to weigh in on a desktop. That's why I abstained from a desktop vote.
Fair enough.
Yeah, we asked for that feedback and I appreciate it.
Yeah. And there's a lot of folks that just don't hop around anymore. You just, something's working for you. It's kind of a nice place to be, actually.
Yeah, you can get the work done that we're all tweaking.
Ambient noise boosted in some feedback, 78,060 Satoshis. 7,860 Satoshis over 2 boosts. Hey, for the Tuxies, I think some form of preferential voting is required next year if you want to keep the Hall of Fame candidates in the race. Just a first and second preference would do, likely. Normally, these systems are used to give people who voted for a candidate who can no longer mathematically win. Wow, that's quite the sentence. I'm just going to skip.
We could pare it down. It is pretty long.
Yep.
Actually, I say don't explain it. Just stop at the normally. So reread it with the second preference would do. And then get to his predictions. So here, well, hold on. So hold on. I want you to reread the first part. Where is this boost at? Who are we doing?
Ambient noise.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think some form of.
Now, ambient noise came in with 7,860 sats. Says, I think some form of preferential voting in the Tuxies is required next year if you want to keep the Hall of Fame candidates in the race. Just a first and second preference would likely do. And in a second boost, I love the predictions episode each year. It's always fun. Here's a few more. I predict that by the end of 2024, we will see the first non-Valve handheld running official SteamOS.
That's a good one. I think I should have. After the episode, I was like, I should. Dang it. Okay, good for you. Well done. I like that one.
And a second prediction. I predict that by the end of 2024, a local large language model AI will be integrated into at least one service or app to passively monitor open mic or user type text to get a better context for ad targeting, therefore bypassing privacy laws, as it's not passing direct recording or transcriptions back to that ad company.
Oh, okay. I say no. But I like that prediction. I just think.
I sure hope not.
You know how many of the normies out there are convinced their phone is constantly listening to them? It's a totally normal thing now. They're like, I went on Google and knew exactly that I was looking for socks, or I went on Facebook. It's like, yeah, dude, they've been monitoring you for a decade. They've basically modeled your profile, or your personality. You think these things have endless battery life and bandwidth to just monitor you and stream that back to their servers constantly? Can you imagine the scale of that? So. I'm not convinced we're going to see AI local spying just because of the resources required. Where I thought you were going to go, and I do think this is going to happen, is Google Voice, or Google Meet, I should say, or Zoom, will probably use some kind of AI monitoring to live filter out mic noise and typing. So you know how they already do kind of like background suppression and echo reduction? I think we're going to see an expansion where it's literally watching for words. And you could even have it. Oh man, I would love this. You could, especially in the Zoom setup where it's all server side. If you had a transcription, if it was doing real time transcription, and say you dropped out, you drop packets like say Brent is doing today. Well, if it has a transcription of everything before and after, and it has a few milliseconds to figure it out, it could pretty quickly infer and then generate words to fill the drop packets.
Can we get the other version where we got the kind of crappy background filters? Can I just be like a digital puppet for a version of me?
Yes, that's going to be. I think you can do it on the Apple platforms.
Oh,
but those are really good ambient. Thank you for boosting in too. Appreciate that. I'm going to say Jack Ryan comes in with our first Spaceballs boost of the episode.
So the combination is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Also,
that's the stupidest combination I ever heard in my life.
No message necessarily, but still love the support. Grumpy Linux admin also came in with a Spaceballs boost.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. That's amazing. I've got the same combination on my luggage.
Says, I want to take a moment to expose. Nope. To expose myself. I saw XB and my brain, I guess save time, goes to expose myself. Thank you, brain. Save time. Save myself some time. And Grumpy Linux admin writes, I want to take a moment to express my gratitude for the countless hours of entertainment, education, and inspiration you all provided. Oh, geez.
Aw.
Thank you for all your hard work, passion for creating a platform that continues to enrich the lives of Linux enthusiasts like myself.
Gosh.
I'm looking forward to all the future content you'll all produce and the impact it'll undoubtedly have on the Linux community. Wishing everyone in the JB team a continued success for 2024 and beyond.
I'm not sure how useful this episode will be for people's modern computing needs.
I'm going to say, for somebody that calls himself grumpy, that was pretty nice.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that.
Hydragyrum comes in with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cents.
We're gonna have to go right to ludicrous speed.
Thanks in part to your inspiration, I've started studying for a ham technician license, hoping to take the test in a few weeks. Also, proud of Nix for double topping the tuxies this year.
Yeah, that was great to see.
Good luck on the test, and hey, you're gonna beat us. We gotta catch up.
I know. Do keep us posted, though. It'll inspire us.
Bleak noobs.
Why don't we now? No, let's go ahead and skip those since there's no message, and go to Gene Bean.
It's a lot. Good old Gene Bean boosted in 2 rows of ducks.
Double duck.
Hey there, Gene Bean. How you doing?
For what it's worth, if you're just counting invoices to evaluate app usage, your data will be majorly flawed, as every single app batches streaming stats differently. For example, if app A tries to be more efficient and send fewer invoices by batching based on particular value versus app B that sends every 30 seconds regardless of amount, then app A is going to look underrepresented, even if the same number of episodes were listened to at the same number of sats.
Yeah, that is a fair point. We were kind of going for like a rough shot, but after the show, we talked about ways of refining that down a little bit, because really you sort of built the system to figure all that out for the boosties, and now we're going to have the year to refine it.
Yeah, really. We sort of the stats we had, not the stats we should on that one.
Yeah, incredible stats though. Regardless.
Yeah, it'll be fun to poke more at it. I mean, there's so much value in them their boosts.
The Gene of the Bean continued with, thanks for the great show and being willing to hear the community's thoughts. You're all making this a two-way medium, and it's meant so much more. And it's meant so much more fun and interesting as a show.
This is a key differentiator for podcasts that have boosts, right? We went from essentially emulating radio, where it was a one-way medium, to a whole other level of integration with the audience and a much more two-way street. And like to that point, we have the live stream. That's another way we can do that. Real-time feedback. You ready for it? They hate it. So we got to get a new sound bite, a new sound drop. Somebody come in with something nice and tight. I say 4 seconds or less. 5 seconds at max. 4 seconds. 4 seconds max. With a California soundbite you don't mind hearing. Otherwise, you're going to have to listen to that crap. You're going to have to. That's not good.
This is one way to sort of.
I know, right? I know. Master Reboot comes in with 5,000 sats using Fountain. It's his first time booster, but long time listener. Hello. Thank you. We really appreciate that. That is a long hill to climb at first. Says, I just want to say thank you for your quick response on Telegram about setting up a Bitcoin node and wallet. I also want to say thank you to the Bitcoin Dad. It was his very first episode that got me into Bitcoin. Wow. I want to thank the JB community, and specifically the Bearded Tech and DPG, who are always quick to help.
Aww.
One of these days, I hope to attend a meetup, sending good vibes from Ohio. P.S. I've got 5 years of boosting to catch up on, so stay tuned. Yeah! Right on. Congratulations to you on getting all that set up. It's so fun to get it all self-hosted. Self-hosted open source money. It's been quite a ride these last couple of years, and we're glad you're on board.
Magnolia Mayhem comes in with 10,101 sats.
I'm not going to play it. I'm not going to play this. If you don't like it, I'm not going to play the scale boost. I'm not going to play it.
Let's make that trip happen.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciated, Magnolia.
Yes. This is really something. This is really something to be able to do this, because I don't know how else this year we were going to ever make this trip, and we haven't been to scale since before COVID. And then have NixCon there too.
Do we have like a binary boost? Because I could, got zeros and ones here.
Yeah, I mean,
beep beep boop beep beep boop.
I got start. How about this?
I am programmed in multiple techniques.
All right.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. We need a better sound drop.
I gotta say, I've never been to scale. Can you believe that?
Let's get Brent to
This
scale.
is a milestone for a lot of reasons. All right, speed round. Torp comes in with 11,101 sats using Podverse. I thought this might make for an interesting boost, but why doesn't Cubes OS get any love on the show?
What's wrong with us?
You know, I think
It's not 32-bit.
we could go back to Cubes OS. I think we've done it. I don't find it to be particularly practical, except for certain edge scenarios. I think like Tails on a disposable system is probably a lot more practical for most use cases where people use cubes, but I do respect it as a project and a technology.
Be kind of fun to do like a little see how we could make it work. Maybe set up a Bitcoin node on it or something.
Post-show idea on that. Andre 2K comes in with Spaceballs boost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stats.
So the combination is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Happy New Year.
Stupidest combination I ever heard in my life.
And don't burn down your houses, he says.
Hey, mission succeeded over here.
I almost did earlier.
Really?
Right before the show, I left my my stove on while we were doing the pre-show. Don't do that.
Brand, he's referring to fireworks.
Oh, right.
Fireworks.
Same thing.
We had a downpour. So I had sparklers and a couple of ground things, so nothing too scary for the dog. But I was like having a hard time even getting them to light out in the woods. We're out in the woods. Probably a good thing because we're in the woods. We're in the woods. Probably a good thing. But it was still enjoyable. Shy Fox comes in with 2,000 sats from the podcast index. Here's the first 2,000 sats from my IPFS node. Oh, okay. So the quick little side note. IPFS podcasting is a thing where IPFS is the CDN to distribute the podcasts. And instead of having that weird Filecoin involved, there is a split where when you boost, if the file's been hosted on IPFS podcasts, a split can go to the person hosting the file. Shy Fox here has been doing that, and they just sent 2,000 sats from that.
Nuts.
That's crazy. Thank you. Also sent their config on how they're doing it on NixOS.
Wow.
I'll be taking a look at that. I know that we were getting kind of excited about it. I kind of pulled back for a bit, but it sounds like there's going to be a solution for having your own gateway, essentially.
Oh, neat.
So I think once that gets solved, where we can have our own redirect and not dependent on somebody else's redirect, we can host our own infrastructure. I think then that's pretty much the last piece for us.
I'd like to pause the show for a sec.
All right, pause the show.
Ben the Tech Guy in our chat room says 6.7 was just released.
Hey, Bcash FS, everybody.
Whoa.
Okay, well, stay tuned on that topic. Good to hear. We'll follow up on that in the members feed later on. And that's something we'll follow up probably in the show soon, too. So stay tuned. But thank you, everybody who boosted in. I think that's all the boosts below the cutoff. But it was really nice seeing those come in over the holidays. We had 37 boosters for this episode, and we stacked 659,959 sats. Thank you, everybody. That is fantastic. And we're putting that whole bounty towards our scale goal. That's what we're doing with these first batch until we get to scale. So thank you, everyone that helped us get there. We're putting that right to work. If you want to boost in, if you're looking for a reason to boost in, there's always good ones. Like, let us know how your hardware challenges went, things like that. There's always some reason to boost in. We just love hearing from you. It's a great way to share a little value with the show. Before we get out of here, though, oh no. Pause the show again.
Show pause.
What was the last thing I said before we get out of here? I bet I updated the template. I had this great idea. I thought to myself, every time I do the show, I'm always going back into the template and changing something. And I thought, I'll just leave the template open. And I bet you I just started working out of the template.
Oh, no.
It's an easy mistake to make. Because they mostly look the same.
Yep.
We need an immutable temp. Well,
like a little lock mode.
just put it.
Yeah.
Put it in Git. So Chris has to work.
Yeah, well,
it
that's
has
what it
versions,
is.
right?
That's what we need. Yeah, something where I have to, you guys have to, approve my change or something. I should not be left alone, clearly, with the template. I'm clearing it out now. Gosh, it's so bad. It's obviously it's what it is. It's because I had them both open in Firefox, and they look identical.
It'd be nice if you could have, the...
like a big red banner.
Light Or the light background on one and the dark background on the other. Just some super obvious indicator.
Okay. All right. So I'll start back with where I was saying if you want to boost in. To wind that back a little bit there, Drew. If you're looking for an excuse to boost in, the topics that we're really, really pushing for right now, because we just like to hear from you, is tell us your struggles with getting Linux on low-end hardware. The reality is, it doesn't really matter if it's 32-bit or not. Misery just loves company. We'd love to know your stories. Share those on air, because it is something really unique to free software. Even though it can be a struggle, let us know. And, of course, we're putting all those boosts towards scale. We have 67 days until scale. That means we have 11 episodes of Linux Unplugged left until we need to be on the road driving. Ooh. So we'd love to get there. We're more than halfway there, but we're not all the way to scale yet. So please do boost in. I think it's time to try out Fountain. Fountain 1.0 is a killer release. Fountain.fm. They make it very easy. It integrates with Strike now, so you can top off your boost balance super easy with the Strike app. Strike's available in 36 countries. It's run by a great set of individuals, solid company that's based on open source tech. So it's a really nice stack, and you can boost right in very easily and support the show, or you can stream those sats. That's also just very appreciated, and it's something you can just set and forget. Shout out to our sat streamers who just set that, lay back, and enjoy the content and support while they listen. That's all really appreciated, as well as our members at unpluggedcore.com. Now, we do have a pick before we run, boys. Are you ready for what I found?
Oh, surprise pick.
Linux terminal tools from Terminal Trove. So Terminal Trove curates and tries to showcase, and they're growing, but they're working on trying to make terminal apps better known and showcase what they're great at. And I have linked us to the Linux terminal tools because, honestly, the terminal was a really nice go-to solution in a pinch. And there's a lot more on this list than you probably have heard. Some of these you'll know, no doubt about it. But there's some that you probably haven't heard of yet. You can find it just by going to terminaltrove.com. But I've linked specifically to the Linux category in there.
I'm going to try out Frogmouth, a markdown browser for your terminal.
Okay. I'd like to see that, actually. That seems kind of neat. Thank you, everybody, for listening, too. We always just appreciate you tuning in and catching us every single week and spend a little bit of your time with us. It's always just fantastic. You could always take it to the next level. You could listen live. We're back on our Sunday time slot. Sundays at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. You get a little bit more show there. You can always join the Mumble Room and get that low latency Opus feed. And if you're a member, you get double the content. You get that whole live stream. You don't miss anything. And that LUP lug is in that Mumble Room. You can hang out with them too. It's just a nice experience. It's kind of fun for all of us, and it gives the show a nice live energy. But we'll put links to everything we talked about, so you can always just listen on demand and get links. That'll be at linuxunplugged.com/544. Thank you so much for being here.
See you next week. Same bat time, same bat station.
And don't forget, there's a network of shows over at jupiterbroadcasting.com. Mike just got the most baller workstation. And he's all in on the workstation lifestyle. We get into that on Coda Radio. And then Alex and I went through our top apps and services for our home lab throughout all of 2023 and rounded them up for a major episode. And Brentley joins us. And that is a big one. That and more over at jupiterbroadcasting.com. Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate you. Share the show. Send some love. Spread the word. And we'll see you right back here next Sunday. That was on request. I didn't want to do it.
Oh, it's so good.
Thank you, Drew. All right, I'll stop, gentlemen. I'll stop. I still feel like it'd be better. I'd be better served to have all of the soundboard in front of me. This having to turn around and fire, it's just not great for the timing. Sometimes I don't want to do it in the middle of, what I'm saying.
And the ergonomics.
Too much to balance.
Ergonomics, guys. Ergonomics. All right, Jeff's already got a contender for the California Boost. Let's see how it sounds.
Please excuse the crudity of this model. I didn't have time to build it to scale or to paint it.
That's pretty good.
Back to the Future love.
That's pretty good.
That's great.
Where does Back to the Future? Does it take place in California?
Yeah, I think so.
Shut
but
up! I don't think so.
Silicon Valley,
It's the whole Gale.
No.
Yeah,
Oh
it's
yeah.
Southern
Okay. All right,
California,
okay.
yeah.
Fine. I'll allow it. I'll allow it.
Doesn't everything happen?
I'll try
in
to find
California
something
in
better
movies?
for you.
That's pretty good. I don't think it's quite it, but it's pretty good. It is pretty good. It's better than mine.
Trending in the right direction.
Yeah, it's better than mine. I wanted something that says California.
Okay, I'll look for something.
But yeah, it's hard. It's hard. I get it. All right, a few more minutes to vote. Or, I mean, to suggest, and then we're going to vote. I mean, this one might just be 32-bit challenge. That might just be.
It's plain, I guess.
Oh. Yeah, that's how I feel about it. All right, so my TV died. There's also something else we want to talk about in the post show. What was it?
Well, I think we should ship one of these computers to Brent so he can do a proper challenge.
Oh, there you go.
Oh no.
No, wasn't there was something else we deferred to the.
Can I vote for Wes's? Yeah, I've been looking through the boost to find it because you mentioned something. It doesn't have to do with accounting. No.
Okay, this
it didn't have
Rockmouth
to do with
thing is
cubes.
Yeah, is it?
Uh-huh. Future.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. Future pick. Okay, I think everybody's done. Are we done? I don't people bang suggesting.
Where's
so
our suggests? Yeah.
I think that means they're done. So I'm about to pull the stop. Okay, see one more coming in. Shave and a haircut. 32 bits.
6.7. You want to talk about the...
Oh, Bcache FS.
Oh.
As we were wrapping, I got the, because, I have that kernel, that keep your kernel super current, be ludicrous mode.
Yes.
And I got the notification.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh.
So I think we should try to do a Bcache FS episode next week. I'm not sure the easiest way to do that, but like something we could do that's maybe reproducible for the audience too.
Ooh,
Does it involve the same hardware?
I considered Btrfs, but then I looked into the benchmarks for my 32-bit system, and I think I was better off with Extended 4. All right.
6.7 in number of commits, over 17,000 non-merge commits.
Whoa.
With over 1,000 merge commits.
Okay.
It's one of the largest kernel releases we've ever had.
Wow.
But the extra RC8 week was purely due to timing with the holidays, not about any difficulties with the larger release.
All right, the votes are open. They're in the Matrix chat. One vote has been casted. Get to it. We need you. Obviously, the 32-bit challenge is a contender. The challenges of 32-bit, suggested by Strit. 32-bit Hell by Strit. Not Enough Bits by Clever Compiler. Older Than I Remembered by Torch.
That's
It's
good.
been a while.
Strong contender.
It's been a while. 32-bit challenge. 32-bit server challenge. Strit's on it. Not Your Mom's 32-bit computer. Modern day 32-bit computing. Killing 32-bit quickly. Shave and a haircut. Audio killed the video stream. These are your contenders. Go vote, please. The vote that actually matters. Cast it every Sunday.
Sure, it's not democracy, but don't we put on a good show?
I heard a boost come in there late at the last moment. But you captured it, right? I think you did.
think so.
Yeah, Shy Fox. Yep.
Yep. I mean, it's such a cool boost, too. I mean, how could we not sneak it in?
Yeah. That token's probably going to expire soon. All right. Have you guys voted?
Oh,
I
no.
did.
Wait, I get to vote?
This might just be one where the 32-bit challenge makes sense.
Kind of like 32-bit hell. That's getting my vote.
Okay, where's 32-bit hell? I could get behind that.
That's quite a spread here.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone vote again, but with feeling.
Here's the description.
Instead of I-686, it's I-666.
That was a good
I
one.
like it.
Here's what I got for the description so far. This challenge gets ugly as we slowly realize we've just become zombie slayers. We load Linux on 3 barely alive systems, and it takes a turn we didn't expect. So is there like a zombie 32-bit angle in there? 32-bit zombies, is that?
Okay.
Nah, it's not as good. It's not as good. It's not as good. It's not as good. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it so much.
How much, Chris?
Undead PC.
Makes me think the zombies from 32-bit hell.
Yeah, 32-bit hell's pretty good. I think that's the one to beat.
32 days later.
It's also got 5 votes. So, we used to get a lot more votes when it was on a web page.
Yeah, that is true.
But I think it's maybe still representative, so I don't know. It's okay, actually. But that was a thing.
JBot Revival in 2024?
Well, what do you do?
No reaction.
Well, no, I was just thinking, like,
we could.
What do we do if things get a little...
A little what?
Not great with Element or the Matrix or Synapse. I'm just not really feeling great about the direction of things over in that camp. Concerned about them.
Oh yeah, doesn't upstream development switch now that we're in the new year? I think that was
Something's changing like that. Yeah. One of the things that's got, got my hackles. It's got Wes.
Oh, yep.
My
here
hackles.
We go. The old matrix.org Synapse repo is now a public archive.
So what does that mean? Does that mean we have to switch to Dendrite now?
No, I mean, so now it's under Element HQ.
Oh, okay,
Synapse,
right, okay.
With their other changes.
Right. So, hackles.
Yeah.
My hacks. So I don't know, like, what if we don't have a Matrix server in a year?
Mm-hmm.
It's also one of our most expensive rigs, although we could reduce cost.
Yeah.
I don't see it going away because it's such a good community, but I am concerned about the direction of Matrix, and it
seems worth thinking about.
Just starting to think about it.
What things to integrate or not.
I'm thinking about a lot of things. I'm thinking about, it's the new year.
You're a thinker.
Well, gotta cut costs.
Stay lean and mean.
Thinking about quit. I think I'm going to cut Squadcast.
So not to snipe any show content, why are you concerned about the Matrix or the direction of Matrix?
It just feels like they're a little desperate. That's all. I'm just smelling like things are getting a little like restructuring desperate, and that just seems like it could lead to a series of bad decisions. And then it sort of feels like then I kind of get boxed into a corner where all of a sudden I've built like this community presence, and so I just start to pay attention early, even though it may go nowhere. Does that make sense?
Yeah, the recent changes have made me concerned about the health of the project too, because it's the similar thing of like what HashiCorp did, but they made a much more ethical decision than HashiCorp.
Yeah.
So like they're realizing that, the license of this software has bad incentives attached to it. We're going to change it. But HashiCorp did the mean move, and Matrix seems to be making the like freedom respecting move.
We'll see. I'm just nervous about it, I guess. And it's such a shame because
it's been pretty great.
Well, and it honestly, it pains me a little bit when I see free software projects organizing on Discord.
Mm-hmm.
It literally for some reason saddens me a little bit to see. It's like we've lost our compass. We've lost our direction a little bit. And if we can't, as the open source community, use these tools, then no one's going to.
I think I can voice why you hate when like you see open source projects using Discord.
Yeah.
The ideals of the software that they're developing are not matching the other tools that they're using.
Yeah, right.
I noticed this with like crypto projects because they're all on like Telegram and Discord.
Right.
Which is the dumbest thing ever because
they're all about decentralization.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like we've made the opposite argument before. Like we use Slack internally, for instance, and partly that's historical. I mean, some of these tools that we're using today didn't exist when we implemented that.
But there's lots of centralized things we've used, like Fireside's a centralized service, and
yeah, that's true.
I don't think that's like we've always kind of had this sort of practical. We host what we can, and then we outsource to the experts what we don't or can't or won't. And that's always something we're reevaluating too. Slack, if they ever made it any more uncomfortable to use the free plan, I think we just moved to probably just have it all in Matrix.
Like anything else, right? I mean, like some folks, and maybe it's different too. Do you have like, are you having outreach via Discord, or is that where your like core stuff is built and chatted about? Because like, maybe, one reason we've used Slack historically has been a lot of folks were already on it, right? For their job or whatever else.
Or like where it doesn't feel weird is like OBS. Like the OBS community feels like a really Discorded focused. That makes sense. I get it. That's where your user base is at, right? So it's just something about it though, kind of still just sort of hurts when I see it. And I feel like we're going to get probably rug pulled by Discord, by all these,
always do eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where's the 32-bit support Discord?
Yeah. There you go.
Hey, can we open the titles again? We're getting a whole bunch of suggestions.
Oh, yeah? You want to for reals?
Yeah.
Do you think we're going to do better than 32-bit? What was it?
There's some good ones in here.
All right.
So for those who have submitted some, but not, the Gamma bot didn't pick it up, you might have to resubmit. But keep going. There's some good ones.
All right. They are officially reopened. Go for it, everybody. You officially have a few minutes to resubmit, I should say, your title thanks to Brentley's advocacy.
Okay, well, this is nice. Colonel Newbies already has a 6-7 page.
Wow.
Good work.
Well, right, guys, that's the advantage of this S being out in the open, and it's probably really easy for them to follow the gosh darn mailing list.
Yeah.
All right, how many bits are enough isn't bad. Half your bit. Oh, you had two. That's why you want. He's got a whole.
Yep. But I didn't start the trend. It was
right.
What? I don't know. Sorry. Which with Catch 32, which I actually kind of like.
Okay, well, we're gonna vote, or we're gonna vote, or whatever. We're gonna submit, then we're gonna vote, and then I'm gonna talk about the TV story. So, we get home.
Yeah.
Drop off the kids with their mom to go to New Year's, and we're like, let's watch our show. Spend a couple hours or maybe 3 hours doing chores, doing some stuff in the yard, taking care of tanks, getting biz done. Sit down for a reward. Wife turns on the TV. White flash. Then nothing. I troubleshoot. I look for reset options. I finally find the manual. You guys have probably kind of been in the situation where maybe you got a piece of tech and it's doing the job.
Yep.
And so you're like, well, I'm not going to go spend the money to replace it.
Mm-hmm.
This is how I felt from day one with this TV. Like, I've had this rig for like almost 8 years. I've never liked... my first experience with the rig fully set up is after we had bought it. They went and set it all up for us, and I walk in the front door, and the salesman, he's sitting there, arms up on my couch, and he's watching a football game, very presumptuously, because I now own this as expensive as a house vehicle that he's sitting on just casually watching television off my batteries. And at that moment, I said, I don't like that TV. It didn't work for me. The fireplace going on. It's like, it's TV, I don't like it. I don't like it. And I knew at that moment, first sight, I knew I was going to eventually replace that with something better. But I was really in no hurry because there's a limited set of options for this space. It goes into a pre-cut out area, and it's also on a very specialized mount that is on rails. So that way, thankfully, when the slide is in, you can pull the TV out horizontally. The soundbar is attached to it, and they've done this wire run with this slot in the back baseboard, and you can pull the TV out horizontally and watch television when the slide is in, which was great when our slide was broken for like 10 months.
Yeah. So it's probably not the easiest thing to just replace.
Kind of a custom mount job.
Yeah.
And then they also went for one of these televisions, the RV installers, went for one of these televisions that has what's called a 400 by 400 mount point. So you like your modern televisions, if you go into Best Buy or Costco or wherever you get your TVs and you buy one, it's going to have like a 200 by 200 mount point. Very nice and tight on the back of the television, more like you're going to see with a VESA mount for a computer screen.
Ah, right.
Not this guy. The 400 by 400 is literally almost the edge points of a 40-inch television. So they have this custom crazy-ass mount apparatus to mount to this television. that then connects to another series of plates where they've then interconnected a mount for the sound bar. And then they sealed it, they bolted it all down with like, I don't know, an air gun or something because they wanted it to be tight down the road. So it was extremely, extremely, extremely difficult to get the bolts off. But it took us all night. We eventually got this thing, taken apart.
Yeah.
And then I realized, of course, the old TV was using RCA for the sound bars.
Ah.
So a new TV doesn't have RCA out.
Of course.
So I had to get a new sound bar as well. But I ended up going down to Costco. I got one of their LGs. The first option I wanted was a little too expensive. The second option I wanted wasn't available. So it was my third pick. But it's still a nice 4K television, nice solid upgrade. And it's a 43-inch TV. But the funny thing is it's physically smaller. So it's 3-inch larger television than we had, but it's physically smaller than the old television because they're so small now.
Yeah.
And then I got a Vizio soundbar, which is all right. I'd say it's a notch above our previous soundbar, but it's a soundbar.
Yeah.
It comes, though, with a wireless sub, which, boy, is that slick. Man, and it must be like low bandwidth or something. It must be because it's just a mono signal, right?
Sure, right.
Because you take this thing out of the box, you plug it in, you hit the power button, and I had music playing at the time.
Yeah.
And it, hit the power button, 1, 2, boom, 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 boom,
No
right in
fuss,
sync. Just immediately. It's like, all right. So that's great.
No setup.
Plus, everything's HDMI ARC or whatever now, or whatever they call it. So all my devices can change inputs and control each other. And the LG television's running the latest WebOS.
Oh.
With decent processor and Matter and HomeKit support.
No way.
Yeah, so I can adjust playback controls from Home Assistant. I can turn the television off from Home Assistant. Yes. That's pretty neat.
That's impressive.
It's pretty neat.
Is that like your first Matter device you're actually going to use then, or what?
I set up the Matter integration, but it's not discovering it, but HomeKit shows right up. So it's not technically talking via Matter yet, but I hope to move it over. It's not bad. It's not my first choice.
But it's working.
And I wish it would have died either on Black Friday or before Super Bowl Sunday or something. So I could have got a great deal. But unbelievable. The price of televisions has not experienced any inflation. Ours was $250 for a 43-inch 4K, I think it's OLED, TV. Beautiful.
Now the question
Can't
is...
even buy milk at the grocery store for that.
I know.
Is it going to last another 8 years?
Well, I don't know.
When's your next...
I hope it's all glued together because the thing's got to go down the road.
Right.
So, but at $250, I suppose, you could replace it every 5 years and be okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's the replacing process. That's the pain at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. We're refining the mounting process. We haven't installed it yet, but we're going to reduce the complexity of the mount.
Oh, nice.
So it is easier to swap it out.
I have a suggestion for the bolts and things. You should consider putting some blue or even red Loctite on the threads. That would keep them from backing out from vibration on the road. You should consider that.
All right.
That would also make it hard to remove, but the blue stuff is meant to be quote unquote temporary, and the red stuff is you need some muscle or heat to take them out. So blue is probably fine, but it at least will keep them from just vibrating out.
Yeah, I was considering that, so I'm glad you mentioned that. I haven't figured out yet how to mount the soundbar to the new television. And the LGs have this little pooch that comes down at the very bottom where the IR receiver is, so you got to accommodate that little pooch.
Uh-huh.
And I'm not sure how to do that.
Have you considered epoxy?
Maybe I will, dude. I was just going to affix it to the shelf, but then I realized when the slide's in, it'll be covering my soundbar, so it needs to move out with the television.
Right.
And then I've got to figure out how to do wire management for all of that. So I think the set-top box is actually going to be attached to the back of the TV as well, with a really super short HDMI run, and it'll just move in and out with the TV.
Nice.
It's crazy. The things you do, dude. The things you do. But now we got a new TV, and we watched a great movie that I want to recommend. I think you guys would really enjoy. I think they nailed this movie. It's an HBO documentary. It's called The Y2K Bug.
Ooh.
Really?
And they pull up footage that I haven't seen since 96, 97, 98.
Okay, this sounds great.
Oh, and it's great behind the scenes stuff of Bush and Gore too, from when they were doing. And you remember? I don't know if you remember this, but they had a Y2K czar. We had a Y2K czar.
Yeah.
I had forgotten that till I watched this documentary. And a couple of individuals looking back at it now, which were clearly making money off of freaking everybody out.
Oh no.
Yeah, really interesting stuff. Very much enjoyed it, and I think it's on HBO Max. I don't know.
That seems perfectly on theme too as a recommendation.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're right for the just what we just did. No kidding.
Right?
Yeah, Hadi and I watched it last night. Our first official movie on the new TV.
Oh, nice.
And I enjoyed it. Lots of old footage. I mean, I would say 95% of the documentary is just footage from the 90s that they've put together that tell the story. It's an incredible amount of work they must have done to go through all that. So very impressive. All right, are we ready for one more time? One more vote?
More.
All right, here we go. Goodness gracious.
You're welcome.
All right. The boats are opening.
Closing.
One more time. Wait. No, we're opening the boats. The suggestions are closing.
Oh, sorry.
I know.
Sorry. It's Sunday.
Oh, it's a lot, dude. All right.
I'm new here.
One last shot. 32-bit, 64-bit stitches. Half the bits, double the pain. Biting at the bits. Once bitten, twice cried. 32-bit zombies. 32-bit necromancy. Half your bits. How many bits are enough?
The top vote last round was not enough bits.
I still think 32-bit hell's the one to beat, but not enough bits
maybe.
isn't bad. Half your bits. How many bits are enough? Half the bits, double the pain's pretty good. Oh, thank you. Are you going to render? Thank you. I was just thinking that. We should render. And then we should get out of here because I think the wife's making lunch for us.
What?
You'll just ship mine expedited?
Yeah, something like that.
Thanks.
Levi offered to have your...
Ha! Wow, that terminal markdown client's really good.
Yeah, right? All right.
All right, well, I think we'll wrap it up with the commercial stream. So thank you, everybody at the commercial streams. Really appreciate you joining us over there. I know sometimes the Jupiter Tubes or JBL Live FM doesn't work for you. Remember, we are seeking your feedbacks. You want to belly dance with me?
Oh,
no, you're supposed to belly dance. Oh, okay. There you go. I know, it's hot. It's hot. It's hot. But I guess let me know what you think about the video, because you would get, otherwise you don't get nice special belly dance moments. But at the same time, our goal is always really to be focused on the audio. I don't know, and maybe it reduces complexity for us, saves a little money too.
Can we get tassels?
Just look at that penguin's feet. Look at that penguin's feet.
Ooh.
What's going on there? Nice jacket though, right? And look, the penguin behind him, he's carrying a 32-bit computer and a bow tie. How nice is that?
Yeah, it's briefcase sized.
Hey, I got one more little fun tease for 6-7.
Oh, yeah?
Uh-huh. This one's for Butter FS.
Okay.
Introduce the RAID stripe tree, a new tree for logical file extent mapping. This is now used in zone mode to implement RAID 0 and RAID 1 profiles, but can be used in non-zoned mode as well. Okay, whatever. But
What?
Here we go. The support for RAID 5 and 6 is in development and will eventually fix the problems with the current implementation.
No.
Yeah, it's
Finally.
plugging the right
Whoa.
Wow.
That should have been a prediction.
I thought, yeah. Oh, shit. You're right.
Yeah.
Dang it. I don't mean to swear, but damn it. That's like, it's such an obvious prediction. I really kicking myself on that.
I don't know that I have a good... I'm not trying to use 5.6 right now, but it'd be nice for it to be a solid thing, like the rest of the file system.
All right, we're gonna pick our title and stuff, but we're gonna say goodbye to the commercial streams first. Thank you for joining us. We'll continue on for the members, but we'll say goodbye to YouTube and Twitch, Ustream and Twitter.
You already.